Oh, yeah, that's right.
All right, it is 6:01, and we'd like to go ahead and open up our city council meeting for Monday, April 1st, and this is not a joke, 2024. Let us all stand for the pledge of allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could we remain standing for our invocation? Most gracious and heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you this day to say thank you, O Father God. We thank you for allowing us to see just another day, O Father God. Lord, we just thank you for another breath that you allow us to take, O Lord. Lord, we just thank you for all that you do for the city of North Chicago. We thank those that have come out. We thank those that are going to be receiving a proclamation, oh Father God. We ask you to lift him up, oh Father God, and give him strength, oh Lord. Lord, we just ask that everything that's done here, we do it decent and in order and in your light, oh Father God. We say this in your darling son, Jesus' name and for his sake. Amen. 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 All right, can we have a roll call?
Alderman Jackson.
Oh, present.
Oh, please. Okay, thank you. Alderman Coleman.
Present.
Alderman Evans.
Here.
Alderman Allen.
Here.
Alderman Smith.
Present.
Alderman Murphy. Present. Alderman January. Present.
Right. We have a presentation and a proclamation. I ask that Brian E. Smith II, would you please come forward to the city council?
All right.
This gentleman is a resident of North Chicago. He is what year? Junior high school. Junior in high school.
All right.
But he won the Division A 400-meter
Mayor,
state champion.
Mayor,
at state.
Mayor, can we?
City clerk, please read the proclamation at this time.
Okay. Proclamation, Brian E. Smith II, track champion. Whereas Brian E. Smith II, resident of North Chicago, Illinois, is an A.B. high school junior at North Shore Country Day School. He is trumpeter and a loving spirit. And whereas Brian E. Smith II is the first place champion in the 1A Division 400-meter for the state of Illinois. And whereas Brian E. Smith II is the champion out of 435 sprinters and ranked number 32 in the state out of 3 million, no, sorry. All the numbers were together. 3,432 400-meter sprinters. He is the first person in the history of his school to win an indoor championship. And whereas in 2023, Brian E. Smith II was a member of the Aurora Flyers 4x400 relay team that placed ninth in the 2023 Junior Olympics and out of 55 teams in the nation. And whereas athletics is one of the most effective avenues available through which young people may develop self-discipline, initiative, confidence, and leadership skills. And whereas many former athletes have proven they are successful away from the sport, having become many of this country's business, governmental, community, and educational leaders. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by Mayor Leon Rockingham Jr. and the North Chicago City Council that Brian E. Smith II shall be honored and recognized for his outstanding performance. The city of North Chicago understands the amount of commitment and dedication it takes to achieve such a title. Be it further proclaimed that Brian E. Smith II shall be granted a copy of this proclamation.
Congratulations. Handshake.
Right, good, good.
So let me ask.
Can you talk into the microphone for the Zoom, please?
So let me ask you, Brian. That day when you were getting ready to make that last race, what did you got to go through preliminaries or just that one race?
Just one race.
Just one race. So how many was competing against you?
435 runs.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. So give us your thoughts on that race.
Well, there was a couple people who were, ranked above me.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily they weren't, able to, participate and run.
Okay.
So I was thinking maybe, oh, I really have a chance to really win this.
Okay.
So, I'm thinking in my mind, this is, my moment, to, shine.
Mm-hmm. So 400 meters, how many times is it around?
So for indoor track,
Uh-huh.
it's 2 times around.
Okay.
Once it's 200 meters, so.
Okay. So I'm thrilled to know that, we have a state champion
All right.
in the city of North Chicago, right?
All right.
So were you always in the lead or did you have to catch somebody?
No, I was always.
Oh, shucks,
Yeah.
you didn't have to worry. Well, we just say congratulations. From the city of North Chicago, our city council, this is our proclamation to you that we want to just say thank you. Thank you for being a North Chicago resident. Continue to do well. And as you go, I know next year you'll be competing again. We hope to see you again here as your senior year, coming in as a state champion. But also, as you continue on in life, just remember this moment, and then also remember that, you can do anything that you set your mind to. Congratulations.
All right.
There we go. Yeah, I'm gonna let the spirit go ahead and just take their shot. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait a minute, there's no phone, man. Okay, all right. All right. Dan, give me the number. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mom and Dad, I know you gotta be awful proud also. Yeah. Congratulations. All right.
I'm just saying, you remember them days.
Yeah, I know. It didn't make it that far though.
Remember them days.
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go right ahead, Alderman.
all I wanted to say is thank you so much and congratulations to you. And thanks so much for doing North Chicago and the 6th Ward proud.
All right. All right.
All right. That's right.
I don't blame.
Hey, when you can, go ahead. All right. All right, take care. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Oh, excellent. All right. All right, we gotta hear some music too now. All right. Okay, moving on. Omnibus vote agenda.
Mayor Rockingham,
Alderman Allen.
I make a motion that we approve the omnibus agenda 5-1 through 5-8 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Allen, second by Alderman Evans, that the omnibus vote agenda be passed as presented. Are there questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Jackson.
Aye.
Alderman Coleman.
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderman January.
Motion carried. Public comment. Is there anyone under public comment?
Marion Scott.
Yeah, turn around.
Yeah, sorry. There we go.
Good evening. Well, I'm a citizen and a taxpayer of the city of North Chicago, and I've been living in this area for 40 years. And I received some parking tickets in my driveway at 3:41 this morning from the city of North Chicago Police Department. And I'm just outdone about it. Like, I've been living here, I had never had any issues, and to receive parking tickets for being parked in my driveway when they are saying that it's a sidewalk that's adjacent, but that sidewalk has been pre-existing since I've lived there for 25 years. So now I'm being ticketed for parking in my own driveway, which is on my property. And I should be able to park a vehicle in front of my garage, which this driveway is in front of my garage. I have 2 parking spaces in front of my garage. I should be able to park there without having any ticket.
Okay, I did hear somewhat of what's going on. I asked that, Assistant Chief Lund, would you please work with her on this issue and see if we can get that resolved for her? Okay, well, also, when you speak to Assistant Chief Lund, the gentleman right there, who's, have him give him your number, so I can just make sure I can stay in communication with you.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome. All right, anyone else? All right, hearing none. Regular agenda, 7-1, consideration and approval of resolution transforming the Great Lakes St. Lawrence River Basin into a thriving blue-green economic corridor while safeguarding our freshwater resources.
Mayor Rockingham,
Alderman Evans.
I would like to approve a resolution transforming the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence River Basin into a thriving blue-green economic corridor while safeguarding our freshwater resources as presented. Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Evans, second by Alderman Allen, that 7-1 be passed as presented. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Coleman,
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Smith,
Aye.
Alderman Murphy,
Aye.
Alderman January,
Aye.
Alderman Jackson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Just to let you know that, I sit on the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway, Board, and this resolution will be presented at our meeting, in May at the, where we going? Montreal,
Yeah.
Montreal, Canada. So, yes, and thank you for that. 7-2, consideration and approval of the elected officials technology resource policy.
Mayor Rockingham,
Alderman Evans.
I would like to approve of the elected official technology resource policy as presented.
It's been moved by Alderman Evans, second by Alderman January, that 7-2 be passed as presented. Are there questions?
Question,
Alderman Jackson.
2 real quickly. One, as I recall, the attorney last time said that section 1, 2, and 3 actually is what affects the elected officials. So if we're voting on this, how do we vote on it? Do we vote on just 1, 2, and 3? And then section 4 on doesn't count because that's just the regular city employees is what I understood Mr. Simon to say.
You are voting for an amendment to the existing policies to add those sections. So I would just adopt it as presented. It'll incorporate the amendments.
And 2, I don't think we ever decided where the amount of $45 was coming from, whether it was coming from the automatic budget, or was this something that was going to be added to the general expenses of the budget for the city?
My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought they said it was, or thought it was gonna come out of the budget that you have. I mean,
Let me just say, it's not specific as presented in here, but it does say subject to a prior appropriation for that reimbursable cost. So whether it happens by ward or whether it happens as a general expense of the city, it will be part of your budget and appropriation process.
Explain that.
Yes, explain it.
Okay, well, you have,
Are you, is it coming out of the 9,000, or you're saying that's gonna be into the budget, which is another line item?
well, that would be a question you'd have to grapple with when you're going through your budgetary process, whether it comes out of the $9,000 allocated to the ward or whether it's a general expense of the city. It's not specific in here, and it gives you some flexibility to determine how to do that.
So as we do our budget meeting tonight, then that's where it should be discussed at,
Yes.
all right? Councils understands that?
So while we
Alderman-
voting on, while we putting the cart before the horse then, if we're gonna discuss it tonight, it won't be in there, so how you gonna? I'm just. What's that? I'm just. No, we putting the cart before.
Well, I don't think you're actually putting the cart before the horse in this instance. The policy, again, is not specific. It's not overly prescriptive. So it gives you the flexibility to determine through your budgetary process how you want that money to
Okay.
be allocated and out of what line item.
Okay.
So I don't actually think you are putting, it actually says, we would say, subject to prior appropriation, if you decide not to do it, you're not gonna do it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, yes, if it's not appropriated in the budget, then this
Yeah,
doesn't
That's right.
take effect anyway. Okay, if it passes,
If it passes.
okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call?
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
No,
Alderman Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Murphy. Alderman January. Alderman Jackson.
Nay.
Alderman Coleman.
Aye.
4-3.
Motion carried. All right, 7-3, city bills,
Matt Rockingham,
Alderman Allen.
make a motion to pay the city bills. $1,050,566.40. Plus we got a special bill was $5,958.40. So the total amount was $1,056,524.80 when funds come available.
Second.
We move Alderman Allen, second by Alderman Evans, that the city bills be passed as presented. Are there questions? Alderman January. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hopefully I can get my mic to work. There it goes. Hi, good evening.
Good evening, Alderman January.
How you doing?
Great, and yourself?
Tired, but it's Monday. Do we have sufficient funds to cover this bill run, and when will the checks be cut and sent?
Yes, we do have sufficient funds to cover the bill run. Checks will be cut tomorrow and then mailed out on Wednesday.
Okay, and then my second question, what is the amount in the water fund as of, what would be Thursday at business day?
I was able to get it through, yes, Thursday, I'm sorry, yes. I was gonna say Friday, but I forgot we were not here Friday, yes.
Okay.
It's $9,164,287.76.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Hearing none, roll call?
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderman January.
No,
Alderman Jackson.
Aye.
Alderman Coleman.
No.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Motion carried. Miscellaneous business, anything under miscellaneous?
Go ahead, Alderman.
Alderman January,
yes, if I could have,
Assistant Chief Alon?
yes, that, yeah. I don't see Chief Perez here, so.
No.
Yes,
Just, wanted to kind of update you on Ward 7.
Yes, ma'am.
Particularly Forestall Village. We are still having issues with cars being stolen and broken into, and they are claiming that they locked their doors. I don't know, cause I, don't go around opening doors to see, but,
Understood, ma'am.
can you give a little update on what's going on with, what are the plans to help Forstall and Hunt Group, you know, rectify this? Because now I've got people going out and walking the streets, which is not at the right time because they're actually stealing stuff at midnight, between midnight and 4 in the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
But they're out there walking the streets. I've had people kind of acting like they're vigilantes, talking about guns, and I don't want people to get hurt out there. That's why I'm gonna move forward and try to get a meeting with, the Forstall, with Hunt and, yourself and the chief, so that we can figure out how, you know, to do the proper, community watch, neighborhood watch, so.
And I agree. And I think we talked at the last meeting regarding doing a neighborhood watch. I also have the contact information for Hunt Properties. I'll be reaching out to schedule a meeting. You're welcome to attend,
Okay.
to see if we can try to channel that activism in the proper direction. So we're working in conjunction with the state attorney's office and Waukegan, because a lot of the issues are coming from these other areas. And
Okay.
they're coming to these properties that they usually traditionally have known them not to lock their vehicles because they're considered safer areas. So we're trying to put information out through social media as well to let these people know, hey, you know, we have people coming from out of town. They're targeting these areas, and we're increasing the patrols as well, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to get stuff on record because they are like going off the chain about it, and I don't blame them. I mean, losing a car, that's huge nowadays.
Understood.
When you put so much money into them. And you know, the military doesn't make a lot, so for them to lose something it's devastating.
And one of the items that was on the agenda would be the mobile LPR system or mobile camera systems that we're utilizing for instances like this, where we put them up on a mobile basis for targeted areas, so we can get alerts immediately. If we have a vehicle that has a stolen license plate or something that goes into that area, we'll know immediately, so.
Mhm.
But I'll be more than happy to work with you, ma'am.
Okay, so you're trying to set something up with Hunt Group right now?
Yes, I have the contact information for, is it Jackie, I believe, is the liaison?
Yeah.
I had the contact information. I
they kinda
received that
keep
this morning.
Changing, not answering.
So I'm requesting a meeting, then we can try to get some, I would consider more active people in the neighborhoods that want to be part of the watch or be part of the group, that want to attend as well. So we're
I
trying to
can
make
put that out there about the neighborhood watch.
If I could forward that to you, ma'am, yes, that'd be great.
Yeah, I put that out there to them to see. I haven't really had a response, and it's interesting because they were all asking about city council and no one showed up tonight. So it shows you how
Yeah.
difficult my ward is.
I
It's
know.
not an easy ward to hold meetings or, you know, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, just keep me posted with
Yes, ma'am.
when you can meet with Hunt Group, and I'd like to be involved as much as I can. Hopefully we can work something out.
Yes, ma'am. And they did, we reviewed the reports, and I believe that I think all of the reports, I believe, were on unlocked motor vehicles. So we're trying to put that information out, because a lot of times they won't even go through the extra work of smashing. They just will go on to the next vehicle, next vehicle, next vehicle. So I think word of mouth will help us tremendously, ma'am.
Yeah, and I mean, if they're stealing like purses, and I'm like, why are you leaving a purse and wallet in your car?
Mhm.
I mean, are you leaving it in plain sight? Cause that's like, wow,
An
you're
invitation.
asking, yeah, very big invitation. So, yeah, so let's figure out what we can do in the next week to get stuff moving, cause, I just don't want anyone getting hurt out there, and
Yes, ma'am.
especially if they're carrying their weapons and they don't understand the state laws here,
Yes.
could be a problem.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
I'll reach out to you tomorrow, ma'am. Is that all right?
yeah, that's fine. Just give me a call. You have my, what is 847 number?
I have both your numbers, ma'am.
Okay. Use the 847 number.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate the update.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? Alderman Smith.
I just want to say, on this past Saturday, we had a very awesome ward meeting, springing into the next level. Great turnout, a lot of questions that were asked. I think all of the directors that came, aldermen that came, the mayor that came, and all the citizens that came to support our springing to the next level ward meeting on this past Saturday. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
Alderman-
Mayor, I just got two items. I would like you to put on city council for April the 15th to recognize Dave Barbershop and Frank's Lounge. We got a plaque for 60+ years.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Anyone else?
One thing, Mayor,
Alderman Evans?
on the third Saturday of April, which is April 20th, the third ward will be hosting a ward meeting along with a fashion show. That will be from 10 to 2. It will be at Falls Park Community Center. The first place in the fashion show will win $300. Second will be 200 and 100. Some of the things are with the city, the third ward meeting. The other half of it is Carl Evans. I'm gonna make clear on it, so it makes sure this is not city money that is being used for this, in case anyone wants to know. But please come out to it, enjoy it, come and meet some of the staff of our great city. We have quite a few people that will be there to answer the people questions, and that's why we're having it. The other half of it, yes, it is an incentive for coming out and everything, to come out and enjoy yourself. But we do want to be able to come out. If you can't come out on these Monday nights, you could come out when we do have events to get your questions answered and meet some of the staff of our great city. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, hearing none, just one quick thing, and I know it wasn't, well, a couple of things that I had, just, first of all, I hope everyone had a very nice, Good Friday and an Easter. You know, that is something that, you know, the city and, I mean, just all, you know, being the fact of the resurrection of our Lord and Savior. So I hope everybody had a nice time yesterday. But it was brought up, and I don't know if it's really a council issue or just a issue internal with the city. Some of the businesses have come to me, especially the liquor, ones that have liquor and fingerprinting. And is it something that is necessary that we have to do every year? Being that owner of that business have been fingerprinted at least already, doing a background check could be sufficient without them having to do a fingerprint also. Is that right, Carol?
Yes.
So,
Just check, actually, with.
since this is already citizens' comments has passed,
I know I missed it, I'm sorry.
I know, so I'm trying to help you. But it's something that we do need to look at. You know, do we need to have fingerprints every year? If that same owner is same there, that fingerprint is not gonna change. And you know, and maybe it could be something that's, you know, every 3 years to have them just redo their fingerprinting and without having, and I think it would also save time in our department not having to go through it. Maybe doing just a background check on that person to make sure there's no outstanding issues that are going on. And then also if fingerprinting is something that has to be done every 2 years or whatever, if someone is on that license that is not necessarily here in North Chicago, can that fingerprint be done at another police station or wherever that person is at and have that information sent back to us? So just to let council know, that's something that we are going to be looking into, something that I think our staff needs to be aware of. I think that's something that we need to possibly address, so. Alderman January.
Thank you, Mayor. Hopefully, maybe our city council or attorney could let us know kind of what the statute is stating at this point about liquor licenses and background checks and fingerprints. I mean, you probably have to look it up at this point, but.
There hasn't been a lot of changes to that statute, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, you know, I just know for myself as an RN, we are background checked again every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So like when we go to renew, we have to be checked again. So that, you know, just FYI, that there are some checks and balances that happen in different professions as well. So.
Right, so I think that's something that we'll look into as a city and see if there's something, and I think it could benefit the city also. I mean, that a lot of our staff doesn't have to then every year trying to get fingerprints done and, issues like that. So just to make
And
the
if they
city
were-
council aware.
If they were fingerprinted at the beginning when they first applied, then fingerprinting should not have to be done again. That should be
yes,
a
that's-
one-time.
Yes.
Mhm.
Now, if they've never been fingerprinted, then I
Right.
think they need.
Have to be fingerprinted, background checked, and go from there. So, okay, all right. All right, that's nothing else. Executive session, 9-1, executive session 5, ILCS 122, C12, establishment of reserves or settlement of claims. Could I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Allen, second by Alderman January, that the city council go into executive session. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Jackson,
Aye.
Alderman Coleman, Alderman Evans,
Aye.
Alderman Allen,
Aye.
Alderman Smith,
Aye.
Alderman Murphy, Alderman January.
All right, and motion carried, residents, we will be in the executive session. Hopefully, we won't be too long. We will close and then go into our committees. All right, can we open up, motion to reopen the city council?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman January, second by Alderman Evans, that the city council be reopened. Roll call.
Alderman Jackson,
Aye.
Alderman Coleman,
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen,
Aye.
Alderman Smith,
Aye.
Alderman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderman January.
Motion carried. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So move. Alderman.
Been moved by Alderman January, second by Alderman Allen, that the city council stand adjourned. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. But, okay, let's get a quick 5-minute break. 3-minute break.
Now you don't.
2-minute break.
No. Go for the whole five.
All right. Take a moment, take a moment. On your phone. I know, you automatically have it set.
I think it's a better time. It is a good time.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I will. Thank you.
Do when you get, when you leave. When you go to the meeting, when you leave. Stay to the end.
You ready? Okay, at this time, I'd like to call the Judiciary Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Alderman Jackson.
Present.
Alderman Coleman. Alderman Evans.
Here.
Alderman Allen.
Here.
Alderman Smith.
Present.
Alderman Murphy.
Present.
Alderman January.
Present.
Okay, at this time, we have one item on the agenda is discussion review of an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 4, Section 3, duties of treasurer. And I believe Alderman Coleman has something you'd like to add at this time.
I was a proponent of this bill. This is a bill that protects the taxpayers. I feel that this bill protects the taxpayers' money and adds more checks and balances across the executive and the legislative branch where it pertains to credit cards. Moving I'll let the treasurer get more into detail about it. Making sure that we can't sign our own checks, basically. That if the executive branch wants to use a credit card or make a purchase, then it allows the decision to be made outside of the mayor's office and inside of our elected treasurer's office, which is elected by the people. Other than those checks and balances, making sure that there's transparency moving forward. That was the reason why I have proposed the bill. And I recommend that we just move it to council and vote it up or vote it down unless you wanted discussion on it, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anyone else on this matter?
Alderman January?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Reading through this, changes or proposed changes to this ordinance, not very happy with, section I. This should be for all elected officials. Not just any specific elected official, it needs to be for all. So where it says with the exception of the mayor, that needs to be changed. It should be all elected officials. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well,
Alderman Allen.
I just want to hear what, from the attorney up from the chief of staff about the state law in this deal here. It's been working good why ain't it change the wheel when the wheel's working? Why y'all guys want to keep changing this thing? But let me hear from you, chief of staff. I appreciate it.
This treasurer's amending of the ordinance of the duties of the treasurer came before I came on board. And so I started doing some research. I've also talked to our auditors and their position on this as well. So first of all, the US Code defines a credit card as a tool for purchasing.
Right.
The city has a purchasing officer, and that purchasing officer is the comptroller. State statute says the treasurer will do the various functions if there is not by ordinance a finance officer or a comptroller appointed by the city council. That has in fact happened however many years ago. So not only are we complying with state statute, we're adhering to US Code and making sure that the device that is used for purchasing is sitting with the officer who's responsible for purchasing, which is the comptroller. Municipal credit cards are something that are in question constantly. I did a survey of a bunch of municipalities, as the council well knows, and we're one of the only two that has credit cards for their aldermen. Almost all of them don't. I talked to our auditors at Lauterbach and Amann because I wanted to get a feel from them what they thought about it. They thought, first of all, that the aldermen shouldn't have credit cards, but if they are going to have credit cards, that it should fall under the finance officer and not the treasurer's office. So that was from the auditor. If we're talking about checks and balances because something doesn't fall under the executive branch, that's why we have auditors. The auditors look to see if we're doing things outside the scope. And quite honestly, I have to say, with all due respect to the body, I think it's affront to every dedicated staff member that they would throw their job out the window to approve a charge for one elected official. I think that's an affront to everybody who works hard every day that comes into, that has that responsibility in the comptroller's office or my office for that matter. The body has the right to change any ordinance they want to change.
Right.
I wanted to present the body with the facts as it pertains to state statute, as it pertains to the US Code, as it pertains to what our auditors who file the report every year with the state comptroller's office, has suggested to us.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So section, again, this ordinance originally started from section H, which was what I requested to change in the ordinance. Section I, which I think is what the most contentious portion of it is here. City of Waukegan, which is the only other city in our county that is the same system that us, where we have an elected treasurer, an elected mayor, elected clerk, and a city council. Their credit card policy, which I'll pass around. If you look at section 8, it's under the treasurer. It's not under the finance director. Yes, the procurement portion of it is 100% is under their finance director, or in our case, a comptroller. This ordinance does not change this. Based off of what Mr. Jackson just said, we were talking about procurement. The administration of the credit card, when I took office, was under me. Administration of the fuel cards was under me. There was an email back when Michael Peterson and David Kilbane was here, was in a question in regards to the procurement, to comply with our procurement ordinance, because the city had not been complying with the procurement ordinance, which requires that all department heads get approval from the comptroller above $50. That's where this came up with. If I wasn't having an issue with those two individuals, this never would have changed. Alderman Jackson, your credit card was misspelled incorrectly. Your name was misspelled on the credit card. I got that corrected. Alderman January's credit card was in my office. When it was forcefully taken from my office in January of 2022, I walked it down, as well as her credit card, as well as all the documents, to the comptroller's office, who the comptroller was at that time. We've had 3 comptrollers now. I'm not saying that there's any issues with our current comptroller. I actually work well with Twanda. This was a request again from Alderman Coleman. All this does is puts us back to what we were when I took office back in 2021. That's it. Doesn't change anything with the procurement ordinance or the purchasing agent or anything like that.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Coleman.
I would like to use my second round. First of all, I would like to say that our comptroller does a wonderful job. And I truly trust in her professionalism and her decision-making processes at all times, right? So I just want to get that on record, right? But to add some clarity to this, what happens is the administration, let's say that there's a purchase that is questionable, right? The final person that makes that decision used to be the treasurer. He would make that decision as far as administration. That's where your powers were, correct? Can you verify that?
The issuance of the credit cards were under the treasurer's office. If you needed to increase the amount, that was the treasurer's office. The actual charges were signed off by the comptroller's office, which is what we have been doing. All this does is the administration of the credit card puts it under the treasurer's office. And then the second portion, which is what you had requested, is that the sign off of the mayor's credit card would be under me, since essentially the comptroller reports to the mayor and the chief of staff, and versus myself, which I report directly to the residents themselves.
And to be very clear, so I'm clear, you were doing this at one time.
That is correct.
All right.
Anyone else?
Can I go back to section H, if I can?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. So there were two, you guys had last meeting, you guys actually had a red line from the attorney in regards to section H. There were a few things that were stricken from it. One of which was the city treasurer is authorized to organize, administer, and deliver financial programs either directly or through agents. This was stricken because it says that guest speakers are not agents of the city. They have no authority to act upon essentially themselves as agents of the city. What I was going to suggest was keep that language and just strike the word agent and make that through other persons. I would defer to our city attorney in regards to that. And the reason I bring that up is Lake County Treasurer Holly Kim works with Old National Bank as well as Great Lakes Credit Union for some of their financial classes. We have J&J Homes, which has a non-for-profit here in the city of North Chicago. There is a not-for-profit, or there's a federal program that allows cities to apply for grants for financial planning classes. This would also, the second section, which was stricken, would give us the ability to apply for those grants and also be able to work with those non-for-profits to make sure that these are administered appropriately within our community.
I mean, if city council thinks that that is something the treasurer should take the responsibility and lead on for the benefit of the residents of the city, that is certainly something you can do.
So my question is, with the program that you're talking about, Treasurer Wyatt, is there anyone else doing that program?
Currently, the other treasurer, because again, there's only 3 elected treasurers in the county of Lake, is Holly Kim. Dr. Schwab, who I already brought up in regards to the credit card portion. I'll just say he's not normally around in order to do these types of programs. But Treasurer Kim has been doing these on a regular basis, and there is nothing in state code or the county ordinances that gives her that authority to do so. The question was, when I did my first one, by our city attorney, received a phone call stating that I'm not authorized by city code nor by state statute, which is why this particular language that came up, which is why it's before you. And I've been trying to get this on council since 2022. So.
Second question is the State Treasurers Association or any other organization within the state that you know of is doing programs like this?
In regards to the Illinois Municipal Treasurers Association, there are a number of treasurers around the state that have done them. They don't do them like every quarter. They may do it once a year, or they will partner with other banks within their community. They don't have it in their ordinance, which again, because our attorneys requested, or I should say, they said I cannot do this without having authorization from city council, which is why this is before us again today.
Another question I have on this matter is, do you see any liability that you're going to incur because of these training sessions, or you could occur that would involve the city of North Chicago?
Sure. So the other attorney Simon had referenced in regards to investments. There's a particular language that I use when I teach this class at COC. There's a little disclaimer essentially that this is not financial advice. This is financial education, and making sure that we clearly define that on all the documentation, as well as clearly state that at the beginning and the end of those classes. So there is no financial liability for the city.
Mayor, you
I'm
look like
sorry.
you got a question.
Well, my question does go to liability. And we all know, no matter what you put on a document, you still have an opportunity to be sued because of that. And I guess that would be my biggest concern, is the liability that would come from if, someone take the class, City of North Chicago's logo is on it. Their finances goes sour, goes south, and they bring it back to the City of North Chicago, and we'll be right back in executive session going, what do we do? And where we stand on that. So that would be my biggest concern.
The only thing I would say in regards to that, I also serve as a commissioner across the street. We've had someone kick a leg out at chair and sue us. So, I mean, you get sued for anything nowadays.
Anything that's out there.
Yes.
That's something I agree with, Mayor, the liability. That's my focus on. I don't put nothing on the taxpayers no more than we already did. Thank you.
Alderman Coleman.
Mr. Chair, I'm lost for words here. You know, if we have exposure because someone took a class, right? And we're making decisions off of someone taking a financial education class and us getting sued. I mean, we probably wouldn't have, we wouldn't be able to run a city, you know, if we're worried about getting sued because somebody took a class. But this is what's more important. Our city treasurer, that young man is very, very gifted. He's from North Chicago, raised in North Chicago. And he's also a teacher at COC. And he's also the president and he at the Falls Park. And he's got, ask him one day, he's got the alphabet of letters after his name. But it's important that he's not going to be here forever. So it's important that we give him an opportunity to go out and reach the next young Vance. Because when Vance is no longer here and we don't reach down and teach down and grow our financial education, that puts our city in a poverty state because we're not financially educated. So I would never go against one of our own, trying to find one of our own, to educate one of our own, to be the next city treasurer. So those are just my thoughts to the liability of the financial class.
My question will be, at this point, it would be to attorney, and hopefully I'm not throwing you under the bus, but my concern is the language that's being proposed in sync with what state ordinance or state statute? And if not, what do we need to do to make it right?
So this would be an expansion of the treasurer's powers. Treasurer White has explained that some of these powers were vested with him previously. This just brings it back to where it was. We've had concerns with the language of this since it was first introduced in 22 for just the educational component. Our view being that there are a number of well-qualified organizations out there that the treasurer's office can refer people to for financial educational programs. It ought not be a function of the city treasurer. Again, that doesn't mean it can't be done, but the issue of liability is one you should take into consideration as you think through this. On the other amendments that would expand the powers or renew the powers of the treasurer related to credit card issuance, we think that the language as presented creates confusion with existing ordinances pertaining to the comptroller's powers and needs to be better blended with the existing code if you're going to proceed along these lines. However, I think Chief of Staff Jackson did a very good job of explaining that there already are very good checks and balances at the city. You guys have robust conversations about financial issues regularly at this table. And you do have a very good system. And it would be crazy for any employee to create a fraudulent situation, embezzlement, whatever, if that's the concern. And all expenditures appear on warrants lists, so they're presented to you. We don't see the need for this amendment. We think the system you have is very good as is, and we think there are more than adequate checks and balances, as do your auditors, who are your financial review experts.
Mr. Chair.
Alderman Coleman.
What I find intriguing is the person that is telling us not to educate ourselves. We have to pay attention to who we receive advice from. There's some people, facts. Your law firm makes a lot of money off of us by not us being financially educated as a city. And then you turn around and give us advice not to teach each other financial education. That to me, I appreciate your legal advice. I absolutely do. But I would recommend that we financially educate ourselves and just pay attention to where we get the advice from. And there's a lot of money that changes hands through the attorneys legally, and nothing illegal. But I'm pretty sure they would tell you that we have enough checks and balances, so I would expect that answer from our attorney. But as alderman, but this is to the alderman, we have to use our common sense sometimes. And we have to weigh the situation out. And we know that we shouldn't be signing our own checks. And we know that this helps out to add transparency to our system. And that's all that I have to say on the policy. Other than that, we can vote it up, vote it down, put it on the next agenda to save time, unless there's anybody that wants to speak on it besides me.
Alderman Evans.
The, what the attorney did point out, and so did the comptroller, we don't have the ordinance at this time. The current ordinance for this that's presented to us. We don't know what that ordinance is exactly, what we're comparing this one to. Do we have a current ordinance? Because this is what we had from Greg, from Mike, from 2022.
No, that one was the one that I originally wrote that was sent over to the attorneys. Alderman Coleman requested me that I send that one out with the inclusion of section 8I. Section H, you received with the updates from the attorney last
So
meeting.
what are we, we're sitting here, what are we comparing this to?
You're comparing that one to the 2022.
And that's,
Which was given to you 2 weeks ago on your desk.
okay.
And that's where that only had H, which talked about the education portion.
Mhm.
And I was not added
And
until
then
just
this-
recently,
this
right?
Just
So
add
that was
to
it,
it.
yes, that's where I was just added to it.
Okay.
So the question is the language proper, or is it in conflict? And if it's in conflict, that's gonna be a problem down the road. So,
Well,
I
as
mean,
you can
if we
see-
need to do it right, if we're gonna do it.
Right, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. We don't.
So,
up here for it.
so what I would propose is that we table this until we get it right. Okay, there's no sense, it's not a hurry, it's no sense in rushing, and we go from there,
Yeah,
so.
do it right.
Do it right.
Don't.
So,
I put a motion to table this until the next city council meeting. Can I get a second?
excuse me, that's not your place, first off.
I looked at you because I was saying if it was in order, I apologize.
No,
So I just put the motion on the floor and then I wait for you to call for a second.
okay,
Can they?
yeah. Most cases, it's my understanding in committee, you don't make motions, you can't make motions, is what I was told when I first started. You can't make a motion in committee, it's just discussion. You can say, we're going to postpone this, or we're going to table it to time indefinite until we get this right. So, on January.
Oh, sorry,
Oh.
sitting here listening to everybody. I want the alderman to understand that tonight we were just given contradiction. The lawyer says one thing and our chief of staff says something different. I have to go with our chief of staff in the matter of that we need checks and balances. We do not have full check and balances in this city with our finances. So that it was there when I started as an alderman. It was there when my husband, who was the previous alderman, it was all there and it got taken away somehow. And now, like we've been saying tonight, we're trying to just put that back. because we need these extra checks and balances. We have things going on in the background that are not up to par. Now, I agree that maybe we need to look at the language and look at the ordinance that was given to us through Waukegan, and I appreciate the city of Waukegan sharing their ordinance with our treasurer and with us. But we need to get this going. Yes, it's not something that needs to be done tomorrow, but we need to be careful, as Alderman Coleman said, we need to be careful about where we're getting our advice from. Okay? And we need to look at that. We need to use our sense. And I'm all for putting this on hold and put it back into committee for further discussion and working on this together as a team. But we do need to make this somewhat of a priority, not like I said, it doesn't have to be tomorrow. Okay, but we do need to keep this on the table. We need to keep discussing it because there are stuff going on in the background that are not that good. Okay, so we need to make sure we have those checks and balances. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mayor?
Alderman, I'm gonna have to just kind of disagree exactly, because I think Ms. Joyner has been doing an excellent job. She has not put, as you say, anything up to par. She has been doing it because that's who you're directing it to, because she is the finance director. She is the one that does the checks and balances here in the city of North Chicago. And I'm gonna stand and
Who does she report to, Mayor?
she does her job.
She reports to
She,
you.
it doesn't matter whether who she reports to.
Alderman.
If there's an error, she's gonna report it. That's her job, and she will not go against whether it's me or whoever sits in this seat. She will not go against. So don't bring that up and discredit that lady. Yeah, when you say things are not up to par, and you're talking about finances, you're talking about finances.
Did I say?
That goes.
Did
I-
I say a person? No,
she
that's
is-
not everyone.
When the auditor comes, everything clears through. No, I'm talking in her response.
Mayor.
I'm talking on her response.
Mayor.
Miss,
I'm sorry, I take offense to that. I take offense to that because she's a department head and she will do her job to,
Mayor, Mayor, please.
Mr. Chair.
Alderman Coleman.
Tawanda, can you please, can I speak to you for a second, please? I do apologize. We gotta get some facts.
Good evening, Alderman Coleman.
How are you?
Great, and yourself?
I am doing excellent. There was a credit card purchase from the executive office that the mayor, from Shanahan's,
Mhm.
and that there was a purchase that was made in the correct receipt was not turned into your office, correct?
A receipt was turned in. It wasn't a detailed receipt.
It wasn't a detailed receipt.
Correct.
And where did this receipt originate from?
St.
It was-
Louis
it was-
Airport.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was from the airport.
Mayor volunteered. It was his St. Louis Airport.
Mhm.
And was it a lounge, a bar or a dinner place or a McDonald's?
It was a
What
restaurant in St. Louis that I had to spend 8 hours in because I got diverted from Milwaukee to try to get to Washington DC. They diverted me to St. Louis. And before I can catch another airline, I had to wait 8 hours in the airport. Yes, I had to have dinner, and I had dinner there. I ended up going into Chicago before I went to DC, and I ended up starting at 8 o'clock that morning, and 2 o'clock that next morning, I was in DC. I spent 8 hours in that airport, and yes, I had dinner, and it was part of my expenses. Now, from here on out, Alderman, if you want my detail, I will make sure that it has every cent, every penny, every issue that I have put out. I give her my receipts. She got a receipt. She was given the proper receipt.
Mhm.
Now, if you want to keep harping on that, that's on you. But because I was in St. Louis, yes, I was trying to get to DC for a conference.
Mr. Mayor, I do understand your intimidation tactics, but
Okay.
Mrs. Tawanda, this is about accountability and transparency.
Mhm.
The mayor's been the mayor for 30 years. He knows which receipt he needs to turn in. I'm sure he does. But the problem that I have is I caught the mistake and I brought it to your attention, to your office.
Well, there wasn't a mistake. You said that he went to a bar, restaurant or something to that effect. I didn't look up what kind of place it was.
But, okay, well, on the previous bill one that the alderman voted for and had approved,
Mhm.
it had the not detailed receipt attached to it, correct?
That's correct.
And normally we turn in the detailed receipt.
Right,
Right.
we turn it, normally we should turn in a detailed
would-
receipt. That's not the only receipt where we have not received the details.
Correct.
Okay.
And I went through that and
Mhm.
found that, right? And brought it to your attention, correct?
Yes, but it was, I had already signed off on it. So yeah.
Correct. And we just want to make sure that you work for the mayor, which puts you in a particular situation.
It does not.
Well.
It does not
that's
put
your-
me in a particular situation. As the mayor say, I'm here with integrity. I'm not gonna do something, the mayor, him doing anything or helping him out doesn't help me out at all. If I lose my job, it would be me without a job. The mayor's not gonna take care of me. So no,
you-
I don't report to the mayor. I'm not gonna do something fraudulent to cover the mayor, if that's what you're,
No,
saying.
absolutely not.
okay, I just want
Absolutely.
to make sure I
I'm
make that
just-
clear.
I'm just saying that that's your boss and you
It
have to
is.
use wisdom, right? And sometimes he gets angry, like he just got angry at me. And if I worked for him, I would be like, whoa, maybe I should approve that. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, no,
I know,
I have thick
I
skin, so I'm
know
okay.
that I know that your integrity,
Mhm.
you're a war hawk.
Yeah,
voted
I have
to put you
thick skin,
there.
so I'm okay.
I support you 100%.
Thank you,
and
sir.
I came into your office before the meeting and I
Yes.
let you know, gave professional courtesy, let you know it was not about you. It was just making sure that that we had checks and balances, okay?
Exactly.
And
And then you
that's-
were worried about the tipping, if it was in the range. I mean, you spoke, again, just like the mayor stated, he was in the airport. He was allowed to
Do you-
have breakfast, lunch and dinner, and that amount was within the amount.
So he had breakfast, lunch and dinner?
He had a bagel from Annie,
In Milwaukee.
yeah, in Milwaukee, and then he had dinner the same day.
Okay. do
And
you
maybe
know the
discuss
dollar
it. I
amount?
think that was when there was a snow.
Alderman,
a
we're
storm.
getting way out of.
Yeah.
out of
No,
bounds of what we-
no, because I was gonna ask.
Alderman,
the
we're gonna
treasurer-
shut this down, but
I-
this
I
is
had a
going to be
procurement-
moved. I
Wait,
said
wait,
it's
I'm
going
an
to be,
alderman. I speak for the
Alderman,
people.
I'm telling you now, this
But
has been
The
long.
mayor, you just.
We're done. We're done. Okay, I'm the chairman. We're done with this
sir.
conversation. It will be removed to a indefinite time to get this hammered out. I'm not gonna spend all night back and forth.
I don't think you
calling
have
up
that
anybody.
authority.
Yes, I do.
We have to get a general consensus.
No,
that
you
we're
do
gonna
not.
Move on this.
No, you do not. You're out of order. No, you do not. I, as a chair, can say that we can move this to an
You're
indefinite
speaking for the
time.
council.
That, it was already said, you're the one that brought up that you want to move it to the next meeting. Now, which
I
one is
wanna,
it?
I wanna continue
So-
to talk about. it.
No,
We're
no,
not
we're
gonna
done.
bury it under the
No, we're
rug.
done with this conversation. Let's move
I
on.
don't, Parliament question.
Alderman, we're done
That's to the,
with
that's
this.
to the attorney. Parliament question.
We're done. I didn't recognize you, so we're done with this conversation.
I'm asking the parliamentarian a question.
You
about
need to go through
procedure.
me to get to the parliamentarian for the question. And I said, we're done with this conversation. We've had it long enough. We're getting nowhere and spinning our wheels. So let's put it back in committee. Let's get it worked on where if it's an ordinance that we're looking to make happen that actually reflects both, that's
A
gonna
time.
cover it. We'll go
Just
from
give me
there.
a time. Let's not sweep it under the rug. A month, 2 weeks, I'm
Month.
open.
Indefinitely. I'll tell you when we get it
Indefinite?
written. We get it written.
That's
then we'll bring
sweeping it under
back
the
up.
rug,
So
sir.
that's not sweeping
I-
under the rug.
I-
I want to make sure that we have the information properly documented that we're going to vote on, either up or down, as has been said, that we have it done. Alderman January.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I did request for this information to be placed back onto committee for next council.
Okay, we'll
For
move
next
it to the
committee.
15th of April then. I'm
Just
good
to
with that.
keep it in the forefront, even if we don't have a whole lot to discuss.
Okay.
At least, we can continue the discussion as needed.
All right.
But if we could keep it on the committee until we have it finalized, and then we can go to the vote.
Okay, I can work
I'd
with that.
appreciate
I
that.
can work
Thank
with
you.
that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank
so
you,
this
Alderman.
is done until April 15th. We'll work with the, obviously, our chief of staff and whomever needs to work with the city attorney to get this rectified and get the proper language. So we'll have it by the 15th of April. All right, having that being the only item on the agenda, I move for a motion to adjourn the
moved.
Judiciary Committee. Moved by Alderman Allen, seconded by Alderman January. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Jackson,
Aye.
Alderman Coleman,
Aye.
Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Smith. Alderman Smith. Alderman Murphy. Alderman January.
Right. Judiciary Committee meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to open up the Public Works Committee meeting, roll call,
Alderman Jackson,
Present.
Alderman Coleman,
Present.
Alderman Evans,
here,
Alderman Allen.
Here.
Alderman Smith, Alderman Murphy,
Present.
Alderman January.
Present.
we have 4 items on the agenda. The first item is to discussion to approve intergovernmental agreement for emergency water supply in connection between the city of Waukegan and the city of North Chicago in an amount not to exceed $125,000.
When the construction took place, Audrey Nixon was reconstructed several years ago. There was a valve put in to connect the water supply with Waukegan and North Chicago. There was a plan to put in a vault, to put in a backflow preventer as well as a water meter so that could be monitored. And at the time, it was not completed. We have had to use that interconnect when we had a problem last summer with our water supply and our water treatment plant being down for a good number of weeks. And Waukegan asked us to resurrect that project and to bring it back to you, to put an intergovernmental agreement together and to build that vault the way it was supposed to be constructed several years ago. And they've agreed to share the cost 50-50, engineering and construction with us. What you have before you is a copy of that agreement. The vault is in there, the location is in there. And do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Alderman Coleman?
anything the water department needs, make sure they get it.
Yes.
From the words of Kathy January, she was the one that told me that.
Bob, question. I see it's an intergovernmental agreement with Waukegan. So they have access to that same valve in case for the emergency?
Correct. The Waukegan has already executed the agreement and sent it to us and asked us to complete the intergovernmental agreement.
By us joining up with.
It's going to be in our jurisdiction,
Okay, that's.
so it would never be opened without mutual agreement.
Okay, that's what I was concerned
Right.
about. All right,
But right now, we have no way of monitoring the gallons. When we
Right.
did our interconnect last time, we had to basically see what do we usually use and kind of guess at what we used. Plus, we had to be very careful that their pressure was higher than ours so that we didn't contaminate their system or they wouldn't contaminate ours. So it's very important to have backflow prevention as well as a water meter.
great. Alderman January?
Yeah, just a real quick question on the financial side of this. it says not to exceed 125,000. Is that already half the cost, or is that gonna be in half of that amount?
That is our portion,
This would be our portion.
correct?
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we're gonna have the next item will be the discussion to approve C-Force Construction Inc. to build a temporary pad for Pace Bus Shelter at the James A. Lovell Naval Hospital in amount not to exceed 12,000.
This particular project, there is, in the future, there will be an intersection improvement at this location and a permanent bus shelter. This has been requested by the James L. Lovell Medical Facility to have a bus stop on both sides of the road. And right now, there isn't anything there. So we have worked with Pace, and they have asked us to put a temporary shelter up until we can get the plans furthered and the intersection improvement done. And at least we'll have a temporary shelter there because it's being used currently as a bus stop, but there's no shelter, there's no protection. And it's, if you look at the terrain, the picture that I enclosed, you'll see that there's quite a slope. So it'll need a bit of a retaining wall. It'll need to be flattened out in order for us to put the shelter in place.
Do they have an idea of when they plan on having the construction done over there? As far as
I
the road?
think it's gonna be, I'm hoping within the next 2 years.
For the next 2 years. Okay. Any, Alderman
Longer,
January?
it's gonna be longer than
No,
that, but
longer than that.
hopefully it's in the next 2 years, but it,
Okay,
But
more than likely, it's gonna be a little bit longer.
okay.
that's why we need to have temporary put
Yeah,
in.
that temporary shelter. Alderman January?
So once, okay, I have two questions. Once this temporary shelter is built for the amount to not exceed 12,000, when they go to put the permanent in, are we gonna have to pay more?
Well, it'll probably be removed. This is, when I say temporary, it's temporary.
Okay, so that means we're gonna have to pay more.
Yeah, well, it will be probably removed to construct the intersection improvement.
Okay. So what is the reason then to do a temporary one? I mean, I kind of think I know, but I want to hear it from you.
The reason would be because, as I said, 2 years is hopeful, would be 3 or 4 years. And right now, it's being used as a bus stop, and it's on an angle, on a hill, it's unsafe, and there's no protection whatsoever for the people that are using it. So we're looking to put something up for that location. So, sure.
I just want to add something, Alderman January. The head of the medical team over at Lovell had contacted us, Dr. Buckley, and said he had some veterans, disabled veterans who use that stop, and they're just having a difficult time because there's nothing to cover them from the elements, and they're out there in the cold and the sleet. And he was looking for some support from the city council and the staff to see what we can make happen. We're putting the concrete, but the actual installation and the purchase of the shelter, Pace is doing that. So they're contributing as well, is what I want to make sure everybody knows.
Thank you for that. My last question then is, isn't 137 a state road?
Yes.
So is there a reason why they're coming to us for the construction of this? Because it's a state road.
We're doing it in conjunction with IDOT, and it's gonna eliminate the turn lane onto Lewis Avenue right there, so that's our intersection.
Okay, right, that's our intersection, but it's gonna be on the state road side. So again, do we need a agreement with IDOT about this?
When that
Maybe our
permanent
city-
intersection improvement is done, it's being done in conjunction with IDOT. Right now, as I say, that's in the process. It's gonna be a while before it's done.
Let me, city attorney, do we need to do something intergovernment agreement with IDOT to show?
Yes, and
that
they will
they're
give you,
okay with this?
well, they're going to give you their version of an IGA for the work in the right of way.
Okay, all right, thank you, I appreciate that. All right, thank you.
Plus, we wanna make sure the military people is okay.
Yeah, we want
Gotta
to
make
take care
sure
of
they're-
military people, but you know, financially, it's like a lot of stuff keeps falling on the city.
Yeah, everything
You
is
know,
financially,
so-
but we wanna make sure the Captain James, that level center, them veterans. Right. We gotta take care of that.
Yeah, we do.
Cause we got them
What are
right
we
here.
doing about the homeless issue with our veterans?
I don't know. I can't tell you,
So
but right
thank you.
now, if I'm sitting here on this seat here.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of them vets.
Me too.
I'm a veteran.
I know you are,
So I'm gonna be proud of it. Whatever
but I'm
our
just
city
saying,
could
what are
do,
we doing about the
whatever our
homeless
city could
as
do,
well?
we're
So,
gonna take care of the vets. All right, we're gonna go to item 3. The discussion to increase the contract value of the 2024 water treatment plant painting project to not exceed the price of 100,000 for BP and T construction from $81,718.30.
Thank you. The contract was approved by you guys at the previous meeting for the 81,718.30. The painting contractor is on site and at the time, he said he would be willing to go up to the budgeted amount that we have, which is 100,000, paint some more at the unit prices that were agreed to with our bid. So we're asking to go up to the full budgeted amount of 100,000 from 81,718.30. Using the same contractor. And as I said, he's still on site and we can get just a little bit more done on that project.
All right, any questions? None? Okay. All righty. Item 4.
I'll let someone else speak to that one.
Someone else gonna speak on item 4? Or are you speaking on item 3?
Item 4.
Okay, you're gonna speak on item 4. Okay, that will be the discussion of execution of an extension to the agreement between the city of North Chicago and AMM Enterprises.
Alderman, AMM Enterprises just took off. It is, members of the council, it is the extension of the contract that I had discussion with the committee chair a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks back, to determine if we needed to extend that contract and continue our engagement with the interim Public Works Director, Bob Miller. So he's done an exceptional job. He's now doing some more focusing on water department to do some additional coaching and training there as well. He's served the city well in the time he's been here. He's certainly helped to develop Tommy and asked the city to renew the contract for another 6 months,
All right,
to be evaluated again in 6 months.
okay, Alderman January.
thank you. It's just, for you as the chairman, Alderman. Could we possibly get an update on this situation and how things are going? Because it was based off of an executive
For regarding who?
regarding this, with the extension, but just an update of how they feel things are going.
We could,
For Bob?
From, yeah, whoever the
AM.
Oh.
that's Bob.
Bob.
That's Bob.
Okay,
Bob
Bob,
that was speaking.
Bob is the AHM.
okay,
His contract.
okay, but
His-
you
his
understand what I'm
contract-
asking?
His contract is
without
being renewed.
violating?
Yeah.
I think as a council, we need an update on the situation. That we need to.
Okay,
You understand when, we could talk offline.
okay.
We could put together an update of what projects he's worked on, the
Right.
different
Yeah.
things
That's
that
what
he's
you're
put
Yeah.
together.
looking for.
Yeah,
Sure.
just to
That's
see
fine.
where we're at and how things are
Sure.
Okay,
transforming down there.
no problem. All right. I got an echo over here.
Do you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Oh.
Any other questions?
Alderman,
Alderman Murphy.
I do have a question. It's not an agenda item. It's really more of a comment, and I think
Oh,
for
feel
Public
free.
Works on behalf of some questions that have come up from residents of my ward.
Okay.
The North Chicago sign, that marks the boundary, you know, welcome to North
Right, we
Chicago.
talked about that. Yes.
Northbound Waukegan Road.
Okay.
I've had several people now, come to me and say that it is and I pass it daily.
I know.
It is in pretty serious disrepair. I realize this is not, you know, of the biggest scope for all of the things that we're dealing with, but people are asking me about it and ask me to please bring it up at council. And I'm hoping that possibly for a modest sum, it could be referred, whatever it needs. I don't know if it just needs a fresh coat of paint. I don't know. I'm not an
Okay.
expert.
It is my intent to bring before council a proposal for 7 new monument signs for all our points of entry into the city. The artwork, but you know, the design for everybody to look at and kind of get comfortable with. We've, project's been on its way in past years. We've resurrected it, resuscitated it, and, hopefully bring it to the council in the next 60 days roughly for discussion.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for letting me ask, and at
Absolutely.
least this way I can update people and say that we're in the process of addressing. it.
Yes.
So I appreciate
Yes.
that, thank you.
Good question. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Coleman?
I have to concur with Alderman Murphy. Those are the gateway signs to our city. And not just, you know, make them look good. So when you come to our city, that's the first thing you see. And especially in her area, that she's over, they're more affluent. So the signs, we don't want it to look ghetto, right? So, hopefully we can get to her signs first. And then. we
I'm
can
not,
work our
I'm not
way
asking
on
for
the sign.
special consideration.
do
All I'm
understand.
asking is that whether it's part
Wanna
of the
make sure-
citywide project
right.
or whether it's on an individual basis, that it be considered, because I think anybody taking a look at it, no matter who they are driving by, it doesn't make a good impression. And also, since there are many, residential communities along that section of Waukegan Road, all of them are actually expected to maintain a certain level, expected by the city to maintain a certain level of, I'll say, neat appearance. So the signage for Forest Point, the signage for Stratford, Stratford, I mean, all of those communities are expected to meet a standard that the city sets to make sure that their signage looks appropriate.
Okay.
So it reflects much better on the city if the city's also doing its part.
Are you done?
Yeah, I
Okay.
wasn't speaking, oh, no, I wasn't done. That's what I'm gonna say.
Oh, go right ahead.
I wasn't speaking to give you preferential treatment, Mrs. Murphy. I was talking about the residents that were actually in your ward. I know we're set up on a different system. We have a contractual system with your ward. You know, where there's exchange of services and financing and things of that nature. So I don't want to say, the residents of your wards are very, very important and they play a key part in that. So, it was more giving that particular area, the preferential treatment, not you, Murphy, personally as an alderman. So.
I didn't take it that you meant, may I, Alderman Evans, please?
Hold on,
I wasn't taking.
let him finish. Alderman Murphy.
I wasn't trying to offend you, is what
Hold
I
on.
was saying.
Let him finish, then I'll let you speak. You done?
Yes, I'm done. I'm done.
Go right ahead, Alderman January.
Anyways, thank you, Alderman Murphy, for bringing up about the signage. I think everywhere throughout the whole city, the signage looks horrible. We have one on Route 31, Green Bay, right outside of Lake Bluff. So you've got people coming from Lake Forest, Lake Bluff, going through our city to get to the county seat, to the county buildings. So again, that's another one that it's just in ruins. It looks like it's starting to crumble. So, I'm glad to hear that we're moving forward with, getting some sort of updated new signage for the city. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we're looking at. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, real quick.
Alderman Jackson.
Is, is the 10th in Green Bay, is that also part of,
That's
the
important.
7
Yeah.
that you know of, Chief of Staff, because that one was definitely, horrible.
It's down.
So it's, right. Only thing there it appeared to be was some flowers and bricks.
Right.
And that looks crappy. There's no nice way of me saying that, so.
And- And,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, could I
Thank
just,
you.
could I
And,
say that, yeah, we looked at those signs and we didn't have funds available and they hadn't been put into the budget for this past year. But as we go into this next budget, you'll see that we've got money allocated to put new signs up because all the signs need to be replaced.
right.
Alderman Allen?
Yeah, and I agree with Alderman Murphy just said something earlier. Every ward need them in there. Thank you, because I care just as much about Fourth
Mhm.
Ward on Green Bay Road, than any of them. So we should look at, don't ever say, I appreciate you for what you just said. Thank you.
Thank you. No, it's citywide.
Citywide,
And
thank you.
every point of
'Cause I
entry,
care-
every
yeah.
point of entry that marks the
I
city
care about my
boundary
ward just as
should
much as you do
reflect
yours.
our
So,
pride in our
thank
city.
you. That's all I want to say. Thank you, thank you.
Anyone else? No. Soon as you guys get those signs, put them up. So, all wards,
Yeah.
please put those signs out
Yeah.
that same day for everybody. If it's overtime, make it happen. Make it happen.
No, don't pay.
We're gonna make it happen.
Overtime.
No, you can make that happen that day. All right, okay. Well, okay, at this time, we're gonna close the Public Works Committee meeting.
So move.
Moved by Alderman Allen and second by Alderman January. Roll call?
Alderman Jackson.
Aye.
Alderman Coleman. Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Smith. Alderman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderman January.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
I'd like to open up the Building License Committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Alderman Jackson.
Present.
Alderman Coleman.
Present.
Alderman Evans.
Here.
Alderman Allen.
Here.
Alderman Smith.
Present.
Alderman Murphy.
Present.
Alderman January.
Present. We have a 2-line item agenda. The first is discussion of proposed professional service agreement for vacant and foreclosed property registration and pending matters. Let's start with the first one and hi.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman January. Before you tonight is a discussion regarding a proposed professional service agreement for vacant and foreclosed property registration. As you may be aware, the city code requires the registration of all foreclosed and vacant property within the city. If a property is considered vacant if it's been unoccupied for a period of 60 days or longer. It's a semi-annual process. So once a property becomes required for registration, it needs to be registered with the Department of Economic and Community Development. It's a $300 registration, and that needs to be done every 6 months that the property is vacant or foreclosed. You may recall that in 2020, the city had an agreement with Pro Champs for providing this service. They provided an online process for those who are managing these properties to register them. It was an efficient way of providing that service. It made it accessible to more individuals. And then as you have property managers across the country who are managing individual properties here within the city, it made it far more efficient for staff and the property managers to comply with the standards here. Pro Champs unfortunately went bankrupt last summer, leaving the city suddenly without a mechanism to collect these registrations. So we were not alone. There were many municipalities across the country who were kind of scrambling to find a way to fulfill the requirements of city code. So right now we are just handling this on a staff basis. We get paper copies of registrations in, paper checks, and process them as we get them. We've been pursuing and receiving quotes for another firm to step in and fill the void left by Pro Champs, because we could certainly use the human capital that they would provide. Because if we have a firm that's able to go and spend time researching which properties are vacant, do outreach to those properties and those property managers, we can bring more properties into compliance with this ordinance. So that is our goal, is to bring more properties into compliance. It's not profit driven or anything like that. But the more we know about properties that are vacant or foreclosed within the city, the better we can keep tabs on them and make sure that they're not turning into nuisance properties. So our desire tonight is to have a discussion and answer any questions regarding this proposed service agreement with the company called Para Registry.
Anyone got questions or comments?
Question.
Yes, Alderman. Oh, Treasurer, yes.
I just had a question in regards to the financial reports. I know with ProChance, both myself and the comptroller received them. How is it gonna work with this new firm?
Yeah, they're gonna have many of the same mechanisms and capabilities as providing that data analysis, so that will not be a problem at all. It's a very data-centric platform. It's all online based. In fact, it's got more capabilities than ProChamps ever did. That's kind of the new philosophy of this firm that started up Para and their competitors as well, who have started up in the void of ProChamps closure, is it's very data-driven, much more technologically capable. So absolutely, we can do that.
Anyone? Alderman?
Quick question, just since you said ProChamps went out of business, two questions, two-sided. Do we owe them any money and do they owe us any money?
To my knowledge, no, there are no outstanding settlements between either parties.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Alderman Coleman.
I'm a former Realtor, and Realtors, actually endorsed me. And this is one of the topics that they are highly against. I'm pretty sure you're aware. Is charging residents or charging landlords fees for vacant buildings. Investors, they tend not to want to invest in the community because if their property becomes vacant, then they have to pay more fees, right? And they have to pay, and so if they were to get a property in another city and it became vacant, you know, they still have to cut the grass and do all of that, but it's just an additional burden to an investor. And sometimes that small fee can turn away a potential buyer, right? But that's from the realtor's side, right? That's from the buyer, the people that buy the property. I do understand that as a city, we have to have some mechanism in place because we do have a lot of abandoned properties and we do need people researching. But for the record, I just want to go on record that when we've talked about this before, you're looking for ways to maybe streamline it or come up with a more permanent solution. I didn't have a solution that day. I don't think you had a solution, but we do need the revenue, right? We do need this company. But since we talked, is there anything that you've done differently with this particular ordinance?
With this particular ordinance, no, but I would like to see this get up and running with this new firm. We do have a 60-day notice period where by 60-day notice, we can terminate the agreement. So we do have that option on hand if this agreement passes council. But I'd like to see how well it gets up and running because this will be more accessible. Like I mentioned, it's just an online portal. You type in all the information there. So I'd like to see how efficient that is. If the feedback that we get from users of the system are enjoying it, enjoying the platform, finding it easy to use. That's feedback that I'd like to do as kind of a next step to evaluating this ordinance and any procedures that we have.
Now you said 2 separate fees for 600 apiece, right?
300.
That's 6
6
months,
months at $300.
6 months at $300, so $600 annually.
Correct.
So if the property is vacant, would it, given an option to maybe pay it annually of the 600, do they still have that option annually?
Right. If they want to register for a 12-month period, they would be able to put in a $600 fee amount, pay that, and then register for those.
They would have that option either to do it by twice a year or once a year.
Yeah, we can enable that option. Mhm.
Okay. Just try to make it easier for the buyer, the user.
It might be set up where it's still called semi-annual, but you're paying at one time.
Alderman Evans?
Yes. How did you choose this company?
Sure. We pursued kind of research of our peers in Lake County, who's using what. Because as I mentioned earlier, a lot of municipalities were left without a platform after ProChamps closed. So we reached out to the most notable firms that offer this kind of as a service. There's basically two front runners, Hera and another one called Ptolemy. Ptolemy was not responsive, if I'm being honest. We reached out to them. In fact, early on conversations went really well. They do a lot of different services beyond this. So that this is kind of a new feature for them. So they're a little new to the game. After ProChamps closed, they kind of added it on as a new service. And I'll be frank, they just weren't as responsive. Additionally, Hera has local municipalities engaged in the platform. Waukegan's one of their clients, Rockford's another, Schiller Park. So they're in the area. They're kind of invested in Illinois, whereas Ptolemy did not have any references they could provide me in the state of Illinois.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mayor?
Not particularly on this subject, I mean, but I did want to let council be aware. We have a house that is right there on Martin Luther King and Lewis Avenue that is now boarded up. I just got word that the county actually bought that property because Lewis Avenue, they're gonna be redoing Lewis Avenue, and they need an additional easements. So they purchased that property and that house will be demoed, they said by May. So just to let you know that, you know, that house though is boarded up, there's, you know, a reason for it, and it will be,
Thank you for that.
yeah.
I was
so I'm-
wondering what was going
I
on.
did too, so I was good to hear. I mean, you know, I hate to see another piece of property being, you know, taken down, but the county felt it was in their best interest at the price of what the house, I guess, was, because it had a for sale sign on it.
Mhm.
And they went ahead and purchased it, and it will be, you know, coming down so that they can do a easement on there, so they can put, I think, a bus turning lane and things like that on that, at the
Okay.
site, so. Just to make you aware what's.
Yeah, that is a sharp turn there too.
Yes,
So
yeah. Mhm.
that would make it
So,
easier.
good.
I do have a couple questions. I'm looking at the payment for Hero Services. Are these, the payment structure in here pretty much similar to what we had with ProTramps?
Yeah, very similar
Taking-
structure about it. Previously with ProChamps, it was $100. So
Okay.
there is a slight increase in the fee for each transaction that they would take in through their
Okay.
services. And they were pretty upfront about that. They, right off the bat in our discussions, brought that up and they said, you know, frankly, they weren't covering the bases with ProChamps. That's why they ultimately had to go bankrupt. We did negotiate with them to reduce the fee that they collect from any late payments. There's a late payment fee in our ordinance, and so we did negotiate that down with Hera. They originally came in at 33%. ProChamps was 20% by comparison, and so we negotiated that down to 20%. So while there's an increase in the base rate that they collect for each transaction, we reduced the amount on late payment, their service fee for those.
So it should offset that extra
Yeah, more or less.
$25. Okay. All right. And then my other question, last question I have is there any interest in this company by yourself or any of the employees in the city here?
Oh, none to my knowledge. So myself, I can only attest to that I have no interest in this company. No.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure that there's no conflict of
Yeah,
interest.
no conflict of
going on.
interest.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you. And then I have pending matters, anything pending that you guys feel we need to discuss? All right. Make a motion to adjourn the building license committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Smith and seconded by Alderman Murphy. I got you.
Alderman Evans and I think we were tied.
Well, I heard you. I didn't hear him, so, okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Jackson,
Aye.
Alderman Coleman,
Aye.
Alderman Evans,
Aye.
Alderman Allen,
Aye.
Alderman Smith,
Aye.
Alderman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderman January.
Aye. Building License Committee meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Ready? That working? Okay, at this time, that's not working. You did, okay, there we go. Oh, that's what it is. You shut us off, okay. All right, at this time, we call the Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please. Present.
Alderman Coleman, Alderman Evans,
Here.
Alderman Allen.
Here.
Alderman Smith,
Present.
Alderman Murphy.
Present.
Alderman January.
Okay, we have one item on the agenda, it's the discussion to enter to a contract with Municipal Emergency Service, Inc. for the purchase of firefighter bunker gear, PPE, not to exceed $14,000, I believe. Oh, Chief Umack is presenting, okay. I thought you were leaving.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Just as Alderman Jackson stated, the fire department would like to enter into a contract with Municipal Emergency Services for the purchase of firefighting bunker gear not to exceed $14,000. We're looking to forward this on to the next council meeting. Are there any questions?
Alderman January.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Chairman. Just, could you kind of, just for the Alderman here, list off what kind of PPE is what you're looking for in this agreement?
This PPE is the gear that we use inside of structure fires. So it goes from our bunker boots, pants, and coat.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move it forward to the next council meeting for a vote. All right, at this time, I need a motion to adjourn the Public Safety Committee meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Alderman January, second by Alderman Smith, roll call, roll call.
And Jackson,
Aye.
Alderman Coleman, Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen,
Aye.
Alderman Smith,
Aye.
Alderman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderman January.
Okay, at this time, the Public Safety Committee meeting stands adjourned. Thank you all.
Like to open up finance/audit committee meeting, roll call.
Alderman Jackson,
Present.
Alderman Coleman,
Right.
Alderman Evans.
Here.
Alderman Allen.
Here.
Alderman Smith,
Present.
Alderman Murphy.
Present.
Alderman January.
Present.
We're gonna start with item one.
Alder-
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask if consideration on the part of the committee to move items 2, 3, and 4 first, so we can let members of the audience go that are here.
2, 3, and 4?
That are here for those, so that way they're just not sitting while we're going through the rest.
Okay, okay.
I like that.
And then item 4 should not have made the agenda. It falls within the purchasing authority, and plus it's it's already budgeted. The other 2 items need council approval. The $9,891 dollar item is the one I spoke to you about. It's that was an earlier price. It's come out to $17,000 for the UPS. The importance of that UPS is it's our backup for the if a power outage happens.
Right,
It's to keep the system sustainable.
okay.
So
Well, is that important? I tell you, what we do, we'll put it on council.
Yes.
Discuss it and vote on it.
that's what I would ask.
Okay, that's, okay. I'll make it. That's something important. All right, we'll start with the budget. 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. One, you up.
Okay. I didn't know if he was done or not.
You know you're done.
Huh? Who? Which one? They did.
That was the discussion.
That was-
He wanted to take that,
Yeah, he said he wasn't, 4 wasn't needed because it was under the threshold.
Right,
That was
and-
requested.
and 3 was,
And 3
we
went
we
from,
gonna
what?
put it on council and discuss it,
Just put it on.
cause it's a backup for the system.
It's needed, right. And
2, we're gonna put it on council.
council.
On
moving
council too.
forward.
Mhm.
Forward, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
thank you, man.
That went quick.
That was quick.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, you ready? Tawanda?
I'm
it's all
ready.
you.
Yeah. She looks excited, right?
Okay, good evening, council.
Good evening.
Come here today to discuss the fiscal year 2025 budget. Uh-oh. Right, I'm hoping everyone received their copy via either hard copies or emailed over to them and they can have something to go along. If not, Lori has a copy of it as well.
I got.
You got it? Okay. All right, so when we start, we want to go ahead and start with the budget highlights for this year. And I'm kind of upset with myself because I saw that you can go to the next one. So, I mean, this would be the first couple of things that would discuss would be the budget highlights and then the actual budget. The highlights, I'm up a little bit upset with myself. The monument signs are in the budget. I should have put that as a highlight because I didn't know it was gonna be a big discussion about it. But yes, so I missed that opportunity. So just wanted to, a couple budget notes, just want to make sure that we're aware the property tax rate is the same as tax year 2022. So it did not change, just keeping that in mind. That's what you guys passed and that's what's gonna be in the budget for this year as well. Good news. So for projected fiscal year ending 2024 budget, we were gonna have a surplus of $1.9 million that we would be able, and that's after the transfers are made for the year, that we would be able to sweep either in the general capital fund or in the insurance reserve, whichever one council preferred. Couple items that's coming up for, of course, the Sheridan Crossing cleanup project. We're expecting that to begin this fiscal year, correct? I know we've been talking about it for a couple years. We finally got the funding, we got all the approvals. So that project will start in this fiscal year. Okay, and then we have the Sheridan Road remediation project is also gonna be taking effect. And then the Lewis Detention Pond, the design on that has already started. So those are just some highlights. We do have the proposed road program, the roads that possibly are gonna be done this fiscal year. I don't know if you guys recall or not, a couple years back, we passed a program for capital and fixed assets, things that we would do in the year. These were the proposed roads. If you see that 18th Street between Glenn and Jackson was on there. Fellows Place on the 700 block of that. Kennedy Drive was on there between Dugdale and Rincon. 15th Street between Victoria to Jackson. Greenfield Avenue was between 14th Street to 15th Street. Kristen Avenue between 20th Street and Argonne. Harvey Avenue, 21st Street to Martin Luther King, and then Hillcrest between Martin Luther King to 22nd Place. And keep in mind, those are all proposed street changes. Those possibly could change, but that's what was scheduled for this fiscal year. That should be worked on. And then in the facility plan, the UPS system replacement that Greg just talked about, that was one of the things that we were gonna have to go ahead and get repaired this year. And then we were gonna do an exterior facade on the, I believe it's the Public Works building. Did you have any questions before we get into the numbers?
Any questions, anyone?
The Foss Park road going down underneath the bridge. I thought that was on the proposal. I didn't see it on the.
It's in there. It just wasn't on my highlight.
Okay.
It's in there. Yeah, when we go through the budget, it's in there.
All right, because it's a beautiful park down there. We'll just make that road beautiful. And earlier in the year, when we had I don't think it was a CMAP group, but they came in and they did a comprehensive plan. And I had spoke about development on Sheridan Road, the beautification project on Sheridan Road, and putting some money into a Sheridan Road project to make our downtown look a little bit more presentable. And maybe working hand in hand with some local businesses in the area. And doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but if Abbott's wanted to pitch in, but I know we would have to put something in our budget for making Sheridan Road looking a little bit more beautiful. We were thinking initially some flowers, maybe some accessories to go, garbage cans and things of that nature. I know the initial project that I'm throwing out there, was 250.
250K?
Yeah, 250K.
Okay.
And what I wanted to do, first of all, you got a dream, right? And, there'll be people that'll laugh at you, right? But those visions will never come to reality if you don't first see it, right? And I see a beautiful downtown, and I see Abbott's working with us to establish that. And when the mayor accomplishes his 40 acres, I see Sheridan Road being very prosperous, right? And being our downtown district again.
Okay.
So I most definitely will put it on the budget. If Abbott's or anybody that is willing to contribute to making, Abbott's did a really, really good job on what they did on Sheridan Road. And they stopped on like 2 blocks before 18th Street. And it's like, they did the new flowers, new cameras, 28 millions of dollars worth of work. And now you kind of drive through and the 2 blocks are downtown look really, really bad because it's highlighted now. Because in front of the post office is beautiful. And then I was thinking, man, like maybe they have some extra flower plants or something we could even use if we didn't have any leftovers of materials that we could use as a city. But I really am going to ask the council to not just take a look at the second ward. Not take a look at Sheridan Road because it's my ward, but take a look at Sheridan Road because it's our downtown as a city.
Okay, just for clarification, Steve, is any of what Alderman Coleman is speaking of, is it a part of any of the projects that we're working on Sheridan Road already? That you're aware of? I just want to clarify that before we say we're gonna put it up to 250, if it's something that's already included, then.
I know the comprehensive plan addressed it a little bit.
Currently, the city is partnered up with the city of Waukegan. We've received a $400,000 planning grant from IDOT for a corridor study on Sheridan Road, starting from the southern limits of the city of North Chicago all the way up to, shoot, I'm forgetting the name of the road, all the way up at the north end of Waukegan. Yes, thank you. It's a planning grant. So the whole purpose of that grant is to identify things that you're essentially talking about. How do you turn around and apply for, and is it feasible to get a lot of federal and improve the whole entire corridor and redo it? But that would also include a lot of the landscaping improvements that you're referring to.
And
That's a planning grant. If you're looking for additional money now this year, that's something that,
no.
we need direction from council and to, hey, include that in the budget.
Well, I'm speaking now and then, and what I mean by that is that's an excellent long-term solution, and that's exactly what I'm looking at, like big money going into our downtown district, and that's not gonna happen this year, right? That's not gonna happen in our budget.
It's a planning
It's-
grant, yes.
It's a plan, but we do
5 to
have
10
a,
years out.
and what I hear is we have a vision, right? So I'm okay with that. What I was more speaking of was the light poles being, some of it's public works. I know I'm mixing, I'm just telling you the vision. The light poles being painted, maybe the upgrades and some of the fixtures, the curbs being painted, flowers, wildflowers being planted, making sure that the businesses down there, their fascia is kept up. A lot of the paint is deteriorating. We've got a couple buildings down there, the paint's peeling. Maybe get some of those businesses with assistance, not bully them, but with assistance, and see what we can do to work together to maybe get some of those storefronts painted and things of that nature, and work together as, a community, not just put it all on the taxpayers, but to also have the businesses. I had spoke with some of the businesses even about leveraging maybe a special tax for the downtown businesses, that maybe would allow for more parking or a bike path to connect that runs down Sheridan Road and goes on down to our park and circles back up. A lot of these things were in the comprehensive plan. The first one, I have to give credit to the mayor, the CMAP plan, but it really had a beautiful downtown in it. And so what I'm talking about in the budget for this year is not necessarily, the 500,000, but just putting a little extra money into downtown. I mean, I don't care if it's $50,000 or $60,000, but even if we can leverage. So if we put $60,000 in, maybe we can tell the storefronts, listen, if you paint, maybe we'll help you supply 50% of the paint or something and make it a joint effort. But if we don't put any money into our downtown district, nothing's going to change. And every time you drive down there, they're going to say, where's your downtown North Chicago? And I just vision it as being something we could be proud of in the future. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Alderman. Okay, so in this next slide here, this is an overview of our general budget, the revenue. Lori, is it cut off? Oh, okay. Just want to make sure that they can see the full number there. So fiscal year 2024 is a projected year end. So we're thinking our revenue is going to come in at 31,630,769 for the fiscal year 24, where it's ending. The last column, fiscal 2025, is what we're projecting the revenue will be for 2025. So as you can see, there is a decrease in revenue, 5.5%. In the general fund, I do want to also just point out, part of that has to do with our property taxes. I don't know if you recall, in December, when we passed our property tax levy, we have a debt service payment of $966,000 that was going to have to be paid for Grant Place this year. And so we had to move money from out of the corporate tax in order to pay for that debt. So just want to make sure that that's one of the reasons why you see the decrease there.
Any questions on that part? Okay.
And then just keep in mind, I'm going through the overview. If anyone wants to go through the line item, and we can talk about particular departments and things like that whenever you want to. I'm just going through the overview. And if you have questions, then we can go into the full detail of it.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Just for conversation's sake, when you're done with your presentation, can the Alderman get a copy of the overview?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Can you send that to us?
Yes.
Okay, can you send that to us?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, and so the next line is the general budget for expenditures. As you can see, our projected 2024, which is that third column, is coming in at $28.4 million for expenditures, but we're actually projecting for 2025, $32.6 million. So there is a jump of 14% in expenditures. And the biggest jump there is going to be the pension liability. As you can also recall, we passed our pension funding policy. We went from $3.8 million that needed to be put in last year to a little bit over $5 million this year. So it's a big jump in the pension. Fire pension wasn't as big as police, but police was pretty much the biggest hit. And so because we're trying to honor our pension policy and try to get our liability reduced, we did go ahead and put forth the effort. But also remember, we're receiving the funds in for the home rule sales tax as well as the Joaquin Casino at this point.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
Alderman Evans got a question.
Yes, sir.
I have a question because I see it's well over 100,000. Almost a $200,000 jump on this mayor's office.
Okay.
Could you tell me what all was involved?
Absolutely. So in the mayor's department, and I apologize, I believe the first draft that you guys received, if you're looking on a paper form, it does not have pages on there. So I really do apologize for that. Mine's have pages, but the one that originally was sent to Lori does not. If you're looking at a paper copy, if you're looking at an electronic copy, then it's going to be on page, the mayor's department is gonna be on page 8. Yeah,
Be counting it out.
it's one of the first ones, yeah.
Okay, you got it.
Okay, so for the biggest jump in that is gonna be, one, we added a full-time chief of staff. Originally, we had, we had a contractor, so now we have full-time wages for Greg Jackson being, the new chief of staff. And then that includes all of his health insurances and things like that. We also have a line item for a lobbyist for $150,000. That was added. Originally, it was for 40,000. That was in the automatic, and it's been moved over to the mayor's department at this point. So that's the difference. It used to be in remember in 2024, we allocated $40,000 for us to be able to get a lobbyist.
Actually, that's that issue. So that's the 40,000. So it's been moved over.
Right, so it's no longer in the automatic budget, it's over in the mayor's budget.
But it went up to 150.
It went up to 150 for us to be able to get oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, why? That's why.
Oh,
Like 40,000 and it was in the mayor, I mean, not in the mayor, it was in the automatic.
mm-hmm.
And didn't nobody do anything with it. So now that it shifted, why did it go up 110,000?
I think at the time when we put in the 40,000, we were not looking to hire a person that was gonna be basically full-time trying to lobby money for us. This time, I think the thought is that we're really gonna get a person that's gonna be going out to all of the events to secure more money for us. And that's the reason why that 150 came in. I'm sure that there was some quotes behind that on why that number went up so much.
Me,
No.
yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm gonna just say that. I don't think it's necessary for 150,000. Cause we have 40,000 already in the budget. Why is we going up to 150,000 for someone, when the mayor goes out and he lobbies for us already and everything, so that's one of the things that I'm just concerned about. I mean, we all go out and lobby for ourselves whenever we go to one of these different conferences, and I've been sitting here this long, and we haven't used that 40,000, so I'm trying to figure out. All of a sudden, they're to 150,000, so.
Good.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just think that, again, it has been brought up that the city does not take advantage of a lot of things that we could be acquiring. Though, yes, we go out as ourselves as lobbying to try to receive funds, but a true lobbyist is either in Springfield or Washington, DC. Not only as we look for grants, they come to us also to say, city, you should be putting in for these type of grants. They also, they are the ones that will follow grants through to say that if we put grants in, they are the ones that are actually going out in Springfield as that grant follows through to bring additional dollars into North Chicago. I think we've been losing out on quite a bit of revenue because we don't have a lobbyist. If we had a lobbyist, I think we would have an opportunity to bring more dollars into North Chicago and not just trying, from our standpoint. 40,000 would not bring a lobbyist in. If you're talking about trying to bring a state or federal lobbyist, you're gonna have to at least get anywhere from 150,000. And that's pretty much, to me, at the low end. Steve, I see you're getting up. And then if, Greg would like to speak on it also.
Alderman, you guys do a fantastic job when you go to conferences. You really do, and the results show. But just imagine that you have somebody working on your behalf 5 days a week for 52 weeks a year, going to functions, being in front of legislators for that additional money. That's what that lobbyist is gonna do. We have a list that we're looking for funding assistance for, whether it's a new police station, public works improvements, the Sheridan Road corridor, which is gonna be a project that, all said and done with, is probably gonna be $100 million to build between the two communities. And I can give you a very specific example where a community here just in the next county over did that for their community. They went and they hired a lobbyist. And granted, their lobbyist was just for the state of Illinois, and that was for the city of Woodstock. They picked up a lobbyist. That lobbyist made sure that their projects got into the state budget, which is their priority was to widen out Route 47, which cut through the center of their community. You know, that was probably about $100 million that they got. The state's paying 80% of the money to rebuild Route 47 through Huntley. And not only that, but they also extended Route 47 all the way from Huntley all the way up through Woodstock. I'm sorry, the community I'm referring to is the city of Woodstock. That's what a lobbyist is going to be able to get for the city of North Chicago.
You know what? I don't want you to make sure, I don't want you guys to misunderstand what I'm saying. I was questioning how that went up 150,000. My question was, the reason for that question is because we were just talking about 40,000 this year that was brought up, that was sitting up in the automatic thing that was supposed to be for a lobbyist. It was never used. Now, all of a sudden, it goes up 150,000. It goes into the mayor's office. Now you're saying, well, it's gonna be used. I'm not, what you're saying is right. I understand that, Steve. And I'm sure Greg gonna say the same thing. My thing is, as we're doing this budget, why all of a sudden it's 150,000 and all of a sudden it's gonna be used versus when it was sitting in the aldermans, with the aldermans, it was never used. And now, if you have been using it the way you're getting ready to describe what it needs to be used for, why we need a lobbyist, I can understand that. But we didn't use it. So what makes you think we're gonna use the 150 versus 0 from last year?
That's gonna be a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question, Alderman. We had it before. Why didn't we use it? How are we gonna use it now? And why is it more?
And that's all I wanna know.
Quite honestly, I think you've got a different chief of staff than the one that was here before. Why that $40,000 wasn't fully executed and utilized? I can't speak to that. Could it be shifting priorities? I can tell you I have firsthand experience with lobbying. Previous life in between public sector positions, I did lobbying. For one of the most recent jobs I had, I was doing it for about 4 months and I brought in $750,000 to a Lake County suburb or a Lake County municipality. The difference, I think, Alderman, is that the intent is to use the money for the purpose of bringing in more money and not to sit on it. And again, I can't speak to about my predecessor, and I'm sure he had competing priorities, but like any other contractor, you have to manage those people. And if your plate's too full, you only got so much capacity. I would encourage the council to give this a serious look. And the reason I would is because it's 1 year and it's in the budget. It's not 10 years. It's not 5 years.
Right.
It's a one time for this budget. And if the proof will be in the pudding. The key role of a lobbyist when it comes to getting money and pushing grants through is making sure that North Chicago's grant application is on the top of the pile. Because all other municipalities are fighting for that same finite resource and there's not money everywhere. So the lobbyist's job is to keep that on top of the pile. Our job is going to be make sure that lobbyist is exactly doing that and is well credentialed and has connections both in Washington and in Illinois. But that municipalities, you see it throughout the state of Illinois. There's municipalities that are bringing in money and it's because they've got lobbyists or impacting legislation that could adversely impact that community. So it's about managing it, Alderman. If it wasn't managed before for capacity issues or constraints, that's the only thing I can think of. The difference is if my office isn't managing that lobbyist the appropriate way, the way that the body wants it to, then you should just pull the carpet out from underneath me on that issue and say, I mean, that's perfectly fair. I think that's absolutely fair.
Right.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained in this case.
Right, yeah, it makes sense, but I just see a big jump like that, that's.
The price point that, I don't know if Steve brought it up or the mayor brought it up, that's an accurate price point. Actually, I would say you'd get 2 lobbyists for that amount of money. So if it's a try and buy and try it with one and see what happens before you spend the other money, that may be an option. I would encourage the council to sign a contract or an agreement, the mayor's office with agreement for an out clause. If things aren't moving, you're not seeing motion, then just pull it.
Now, I'm gonna just say this and I wanna let you go to the next item. When you said we were gonna discuss the budget, and I noticed this from the beginning. And you was like, well, it's gonna be real tight on this thing and stuff like that. Then I see something like this, a big jump in that mayor.
Oh, and it's the same thing with the monument signs too. That's $350,000 that, we're trying to be tight on money. The budget's your decision, the whole body's decision. We're offering what we think we need in order to carry out the mission.
Right.
There's nothing cast in stone. That rests,
Oh, I know that.
that rests with you, son. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Alderman January.
Oh.
Oh, Alderman Smith.
Couple questions. All right, couple of questions. One, how do we come up with the 40,000 in the first place? And it's supposed to have been for a lobbyist. I wasn't here then. I'm just curious. How do we come up with 40,000? You may not know.
I wasn't here either.
I know.
So I think the 40,000 was a number that we thought we would be able to get someone. Again, it was like a part-time try to see if we would be able to get someone. It was never set in stone. We didn't have a contract for that person, but we want to set aside a small amount of money just in case we were able to find it. And as you know, doing the budget passed in April, I want to say Dave was gone within a few months of the budget passing. So I just think that it was never worked on because of the transition of the 2 chief of staffs.
Cause it's been there for a while. I mean, we haven't had a lobbyist forever. Okay, move to the next question.
It's only been 1 year that we put it in. It was just last
You've
year.
never had it?
No. That was the first year we put it in the budget.
All right. Next question. Why did it get moved from legislative to the mayor's department?
I don't know if where it's housed is important. I think it was because I serve under the office of the mayor under that umbrella and I was gonna be the one that was managing it.
And because the reason why I asked that is because we were having an issue concerning about automatic spending and they were talking about using that because it wasn't being used. So my question is, was it moved because we were asking to use that money because it wasn't used?
Well, I've got to tell you this, Alderman, the budget is the general fund's the general fund. I think the council at any time can ask to move something from one line to another line. And if the majority of the body votes for it, that can happen.
Okay, and then who oversees the productivity of the lobbyists? Who picks the lobbyists?
Yeah, it would be the council.
So you're gonna,
they'd submit credentials for almost like a resume, a pro forma from wherever firm they have or firm they work with. They'd present it to the council. What is their areas of expertise? Just a CV or a resume, and then the council would interview like you would interview anybody else.
okay, and then is it contractual?
Yes.
It's a year and.
You can name the terms.
Thank you.
Yeah, Alderman January.
Question for our city attorney. Because I'm not familiar with the compensation of a lobbyist. Is there a way of, like having a base salary and then a compensation type package? Or how does the state
Are you,
Rex look at that.
and David jump in, are you, and I just because of being familiar with it, are you, so I understand, Alderman, you're asking, do they get a base pay and then if money comes in, they can be
No,
bonus?
can we do it that way, is what I'm asking.
That you can't do
No.
it because of
Okay.
ethics laws, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure.
Mhm.
Okay. And then, my second question, and now I forgot it. Come back to me. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. You know, go ahead.
Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We never got a clear answer on that, Chief. Are you gonna move, it sounded like you just made a mistake. Are you gonna move that back into the legislative budget, the 140?
That wasn't my intent. It
Okay.
simply because
Well, let me elaborate a little bit. Checks and balances. I keep saying it, checks and balances. What you don't want to do is you don't want to put too much in the executive, too much in the legislative. This way I explain it. The mayor is the president, we're Congress. Lobbyists work with Congress. That's why it's in the legislative budget, because that's what we do. We're legislators. So how it ends up in the mayor's budget, the president's budget, I have no idea. So I would ask you, since we're the legislators and we're the ones that should be dealing with the lobbyists, right?
well, I would say this because seeing I teach it at the graduate level, when you're talking about lobbyists work both the executive branch, the legislative branch, as well as the bureaucracy. So there is a lobbyist doesn't confine themselves to strictly a legislative function. If it's something that needs to be done for Public Works, IDOT, something like that, a lobbyist may never step foot in a legislator's office, but may end up working with one of the agencies like an IDOT or an IDNR or something like that, which would all fall under the executive branch. Absolutely, lobbyists lobby for legislation, but for money and functions, it's a combination of both departments, the bureaucracy, as well as the executive and legislative branch. It's a mix.
So with me using your case as my point, why don't you put it in legislative branch? Because it works with all departments, like you just said. Why can't it?
We
go
can
to
put it in
legislative?
administrative services, and that way it can just turn around and not be in any branch, so there's no argument.
No, then you create a slush fund like other professional services.
No, it's not. We have an administrative services department. It's in the budget.
It's in the budget.
Okay, but that's not the point. The point is, it was already in the budget in the legislative side, right? And we're asking to keep it in the budget in the legislative side. And you're asking to move it out into the mayor's budget, which you clearly said that you work at behest of the president, the mayor, correct?
No, I didn't say I worked at the behest. I worked for the council, the mayor and the council. I turn around if it's a place of neutrality where the money should be, then let's take it out of executive, let's take it out of legislative and put it in administrative services. To be honest, Alderman, all we care about as staff is how figuring a way to maximize whatever we've got to turn around and bring in the most that we can to the city. Where it sits, the body will ultimately decide, but that's just a suggestion on where it might go. But it's up to the 7 of the body, so.
Okay, when they originally asked you the question of why the money was put into the mayor's budget, you clearly said because you work in the mayor's office. That's why it was in the mayor's budget. You said that.
Well, Alderman, they didn't
You
say.
work at the behest
They,
of the
wait,
mayor.
let me make sure, because if I misspoke, I want to apologize. They didn't ask me where to place that money. I decided to place the money so I don't want it to come back that staff moved that there because they were told to move it there. I was the one, because that was their decision. It was my decision. My decision because the department that's on my paycheck says Office of the Mayor. And now, again, wherever you want to put it, that's up to the body. If it needs to be neutral, then put it in administrative services. For me, more than anything else, if the money's budgeted, so we can use it to effectively bring in more money to town, put it in Public Works. I don't care.
Okay, well, put it in the legislative budget. No big deal.
In human resources, which is.
No, put it in the budget. No big deal.
That's, we just care about effectively using the money,
Yeah.
where it
I'm with
is,
you. Put it back where it came from. I'm with you.
whatever the council decides on the majority, we'll do what you do. We'll do what you tell us to do.
Checks and balances, people.
Alderman, I would like to put on administrative service, and that way, nobody, it's just a line item. Done. Go ahead, Alderman. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just curious for lobbyists, while we're on this, do we have a job description already in place?
No, that's because we're waiting to see if this gets approved first. We want the job description to also come back to the council.
Okay, please.
Yeah.
And then also under that job description, will there be an expectation about the amount that they need to bring in yearly to the city?
Yeah, performance measures, when you start talking about specific dollar amounts and performance measures, you're worried about crossing an ethical line. Does somebody offer somebody a bribe in Springfield or Washington in order to turn around and get something done in their favor? So a performance measure or analytics along those lines would be inappropriate. What projects are you working on? How much do we get legislation pay? I mean, there are other things that are not monetary that we could turn around and look as performance measures.
I just want to make sure that they're paying for themselves.
Right. That's exactly right.
That's how the lobbyists
Yeah.
work.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my second question. Thank you.
Alderman Allen, my question is, for a lobbyist, and I'm for a lobbyist, I've been saying that since I've been here, but another question is, if people get a grant writer gets a percentage of.
Can't do that either.
Okay,
Yeah, not anymore. That's right.
okay.
I used to write grants, so you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore.
Oh, grant writers can't do it anymore? That's what you're saying, or lobbyists?
Both. Both.
Both, okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Would administrative services be okay to place it in?
No.
What I say.
Mr. Mayor,
And the council as a whole, I know I got one
Mr.
as a whole with administrative services, where, again, it's just to try to place
But-
lobbyists.
But he does better.
Mr. Chairman.
He does have a good point. Why not keep it in legislative?
Right.
That's where the 40,000 was at. So
That's what I agree.
Why switch it to administrative services? You had it in, legislative, so.
Okay.
I mean, Here we go, why switch it to administrative services? Just keep it in legislative.
It's, the bottom line on the dollars nobody's gonna authorize an expenditure unless that comes back to the whole body.
Exactly, so keep it in legislative. Why switch? Are you switching it because it's a bigger number?
No, I switched, honest to goodness, Alderman, I switched it because it's my first budget and I did it for housekeeping rules.
We'll just keep it in legislative.
Okay, you're leaving the legislature. Okay, let's move on to the next. Let's go.
I think,
Yeah, well, it's not
Go ahead.
pertaining to the lobbyists. I want to make sure everyone got their lobbyist questions out first. Okay. So my question is, I saw there is another increase under that budget, which is a traveling and training. It's increased by $15,000. That's for you, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm sorry, I stated that in a minute. So we made adjustments. So not only is it for, Greg came on new,
Mhm.
but then also for Ombre as well.
Okay.
So
and
training
which-
for him.
Cause there's no detail like there normally is.
they're,
There-
they weren't doing it before. I mean, there was no ILCMA or ICMA conferences there.
The reason I asked is because mine was the only one that was reduced. That's why I was asking specifically by $2,000. Cause I'm not going to IML this year because I won't be able to afford, or this fiscal year because I won't be able
I
to
think
afford
I
it.
went to your numbers.
Right. I
That was
didn't-
the recommend, so you had asked about, that was just your number that you gave me originally? Originally it was $7,000. So
And then we said, could we tighten it a little bit?
Mm.
Is that where you tightened or?
that was one of the areas. There was another area as well. That was in the side margin where I stated that I would be willing to cut those, that one, as well as my gasoline allowance if that was being shared across the board. And that's the issue I had with it.
Okay,
Because
thank
this has
you.
been an ongoing.
So we're gonna switch over. So you want to
Yeah.
talk about your department?
Well,
now?
it was in general, because it's,
Okay.
you know,
So with the mayor's department, you're okay with the reason why we said that there was an increase there?
That's fine. I mean,
Okay,
you know,
because of Greg and his
that's
training.
fine. Yeah.
Alrighty. And then you said in your budget,
Yeah, it was $5,000, which would not allow me to be able to go to IML this year at all, so, or this fiscal year. As a matter of fact, to even go to lobby day this year, or this current fiscal year, I'm gonna use part of my gas allowance to be able to make it, so.
so you gave me your details and I use your.
There was a part that was sent to Greg. In there, I stated that I'm fine with those two items being cut. If it was being cut across the board, because my gasoline allowance was also reduced as well. That was in that, the side margins as well, that I submitted to Greg. You weren't on that email originally.
Okay, yeah,
Originally-
because I'm like, I use
Yeah.
your numbers.
No, I know.
correct. Okay, yeah, because I didn't change anything you gave me. That's what
Yeah.
your numbers were.
I can't afford to go.
Can't afford it.
That's what I'm saying. I can't afford to go, so. Because I have separate conferences.
You
with
have
guys.
IML, oh, wait.
No,
am I in
that
the
was,
wrong part?
the only time I went to IML was this current fiscal year, because I had $7,000. This fiscal year, I won't have 7,000, so I won't be going to IML.
So I just want to clarify, you have IML listed on
I
here.
know that was from FY '24. I'm not going to IML this year. I never put IML because there's other more important ones if I'm not gonna have that additional money in my budget.
Okay.
I know it's on the detail, I saw that.
Oh, yeah, because I'm
but
like, I
didn't
see it
fill
on the
I didn't fill
detail.
the detail in this year at all, because I don't know where a lot of these numbers came from for my detail, for my department at least.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
to satisfy this situation, is there any way we can find $2,000 to put back to make the treasurer's training and travel whole?
I would agree.
Can we do that,
Okay.
please, and continue on?
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't, I was on the assumption that he took it down to 5,000.
So can we
That's
give them
what I
that?
got.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. So I will add that back in there.
Yes, go ahead, Alderman.
To our treasurer, ma'am.
Sure.
Will that be enough to cover?
Yeah.
for you to go to-
I get $87 to eat, so I'm fine, so.
Hey, I'll loan you some money, okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, did we want to go over any other departments?
Was treasurer,
Yeah, I'm going treasurer.
the treasurer and the clerk.
Okay.
What, was there the clerks, was there increase or decrease?
The clerk gave us her
Items.
numbers. So her budget went down about $4,000 from last year to this year
Okay, can we just,
overall.
okay, can we add?
But it wasn't in travel and training. Is that what you're asking? I guess I'm confused.
No, what I'm saying is, like, one budget get $100,000, $200,000, and then the other departments, like, like our treasurer, the one that takes care of our money, and the clerk, and, you know, their budget's getting cut, and we're scrabbling over $4,000. But we're throwing $2,000 in the account, and the executive branch?
I do want to
So-
also point out, in the comptroller's office, our budgets went down about 170,000. So it's not just, it's overall, we were trying to save
We've
money.
had this conversation before.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
very cheap because you do your
Exactly.
job. And I expect your budget to be cut every year. But as far as our money, the person that count the money, we need him going to class. We need him to understanding,
We
Our
already have him up
finances.
to 7,000. We talked.
and the clerk as well.
The clerk, her budget didn't get cut for travel and training. Yeah, it didn't get cut.
Is yours the same as last year? Everything? Are you okay?
Okay, let's move,
All right.
let's move.
With your fuel as well? Oh, you don't have fuel in your budget? So how, well, you spend your own money on fuel? Or did you get fuel?
Yeah, they took our gas cards back in 2022.
Okay, can we address that? Or was it,
The gas, so we do a reimbursement for gas. So they submit the miles and then we give them the money back.
can we go back to the gas card? To make it easy and we can just put it in the budget?
I would probably,
A form of payment, it's a check. So instead of you paying with a credit card, you pay with a check.
What did you guys prefer?
No,
I would defer to Lori because, you know, I don't get gas anymore in my new vehicle, so I would just
Oh,
spend my
yeah,
mileage.
that's right,
so.
baller. What about you?
Mike,
Gas or mileage?
The mileage is really insignificant unless I go to Springfield or to Chicago or something like that, but the difference between the gas card and the reimbursement is that it's more paperwork for 2 miles than it is to, I mean.
Swipe your card, right?
Yeah, no, not to cut Lori off, but just to clarify, the problem with us using Lori or Vance using a credit card is that you have to confirm your business miles. When you put gas in it, if you're not keeping track of, if I say I put $10 in gas in there, there's no way for you to say, oh, I drove 10 gallons of gas out, if that makes sense.
let her finish talking. She talking, let her.
That's what I want to clarify. So it actually, every year, what we would have to do is ask Lori, Lori, how much of gas did, you know, on the fuel card did she use for personal use? And then we have to bill her for, we would have to put that on her W-2, but there's no way to legally track it because if you're not having the miles for it, then you won't be able to track it. Vance, on the other hand, he does track all of his miles, so he gives us the miles and that's what we pay him.
Okay, now, McCollum, you can speak.
All right, sorry for cutting you off.
No problem. I'm
I don't
sorry.
wanna be rude ever, okay? But our current executive of the city has a car, right? And
He has a city vehicle,
right, he has a city vehicle.
correct,
Right? And he has a gas card, because he has a city vehicle, right?
correct.
And how much is in his gas budget? 2,000, 4,000? What was it? What's his gas for the year?
I look here. 2250,
2250.
$1,250.
$2,500, right?
No, $2,250.
$2,250.
Correct.
And he has a card, right? That he swipes, right?
Right,
Now-
that's
now-
not additional money.
Right.
It's, okay,
Right.
I just wanted to make
I
sure.
got you. But we don't ask him, do you leave your car out here? Do you drive it home? Do you drive it to work? All we do is we just trust the mayor that he's taking care of business when he swipes his card. And with other offices, we want to say, okay, well, that's 1 mile, that's 2 miles. No, you can't get $1 on that. And I think your gas, I think Lori's gas is like, what, $100 or something, $50 or? It was $700, right? So we're talking about $700, and give her a fuel card. So
Whether
that
it's
she can-
700 or it's $1, you still have to confirm that it's business miles. I think that's the
Right,
part you're
but
missing.
what I'm saying is we're not doing it across the board.
Well, the mayor is not putting gas into his personal vehicle. Is that what you're saying? That's the
Well-
difference. This is her personal vehicle. She doesn't have a city vehicle.
But we don't ask the mayor if he picks his granddaughter up from the elementary school either. If we see him driving at the elementary school, we don't ask the mayor if we see him at the gas station.
Mayor, am I correct or am not
Yeah,
correct? Did you
mayor.
not receive an email requesting for how much personal usage you used on this? Okay, I just want to confirm that the mayor does get the.
And who
information
verifies
the
that?
Same person that would verify Lori's or the treasurer's.
And who is that?
That would be myself or the HR person.
And on top of your check is the same check that the chief of staff gets, the mayor of the office of the mayor.
My check says the city of North Chicago.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's carry on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So Lori, are you okay with your budget? I know the credit cards, that's another issue, but we're just speaking of the credit.
The software part I might need to adjust, but I will talk to
The
you about
software.
that by Wednesday.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other departments while we're going through? So this is the list of the departments.
Legislative.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so that's on page 16.
Okay, what question you
Okay,
have?
we don't have to keep, I didn't have a copy of it, so I have this here, so I'm good. Thank you.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
I just want to ask the question on the treasury report.
Okay, the treasury report,
Yes,
Treasurer report or the
the
or the
budget.
the budget.
Oh, okay, yes, sir.
Investment.
How about the investment activity portion?
Uh, the gain and losses down there,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
So-
we,
That is actually according to GASB, which is GASB 31, which is the Government Accounting Standards Board. They require, after 1994, when Orange County, California went bankrupt, that we do what's called mark to market, which means that if we were to sell all of our assets at any
Right.
given time,
Mhm.
we have to show on our books how much money the actual security is undervalued in the market. So that's what that is. So if you look at that one for 2022, where we showed like a negative $588,000,
minus
it would be, if we were to be tracking the market exactly, the bond market, we would have been down about $1 million. So we actually beat out what the market was. That's not an actual loss. That's all that is a paper in case if we had to sell every single thing that we own at any given time, we have to show that. That is state law, or not state law, but I do
Yeah.
believe it's state law as well as
Yeah.
GASB as well now.
so you saying though, if we had left that money, all investment we had, so we're saying in 2023 is 363,726.
If we were to liquidate every single asset that we have.
No,
This is under
On the
a
treasury.
revenue.
It's
That's
on,
under treasury, it's under revenue.
it's about, right, she here.
It's on page, right, it's in revenues, I think.
Yeah, it's under the revenue section.
Yeah.
So it's on page 5.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, page 6.
So if you look at it, that is, majority of that's actually comes from Old National Bank, our 1834 account.
Yeah,
That's the majority of where our money were, our bonds had went down because those bonds were below 1%, majority of those bonds. If you look at the actual treasury report on page 8, it shows you under the other deposits and unrealized returns.
Yeah.
That's that amount. That's a paper loss. That's not an actual loss. We have not lost any money. If we had to liquidate, meaning sell every single thing that we had in order to get cash,
Yeah.
that's what we would have to realize. But since we are
A
not
loss.
selling anything, we buy and we hold, which means we don't lose anything. Okay,
but if we had left that money right there and didn't do all the investment, then that money would.
that
be
would not have changed because of the simple fact that was already invested prior to I even taking office. Majority of those losses that you're referring to, paper losses,
Mhm.
were predates me being here. The reason why the number is not as high as it would have been is because we actually had higher interest bonds
Yeah.
that we acquired.
Yeah.
That's why it's not the $1 million that I just spoke of.
I don't see those numbers that you're talking about, 1 million. I don't see, all I'm looking
I
at.
know that you don't see that because you wouldn't see it because before it actually got that bad, because interest rates shot up, which means once your interest rates go up, the value of the market value of the bond
Yeah.
goes down. That doesn't mean we lose any money.
Yeah.
You don't lose money if you sell it.
Mhm.
We have
Yeah.
not sold anything.
I know you haven't sold anything, but I just knowing that if you kept it all in one little spot there, I'm just saying, we saying we are minus, we only got 102,000 out of that 508, right? If today, right today,
Right, if we sold it.
We
Mhm.
sold
If we
today.
sold everything, yes, as
Yeah,
of today,
right.
yes.
so,
That would be
So-
profit above what the market value. So we get 18 million
Yeah.
plus the 102.98.
right,
That would be over $18 million we'd have in cash. That's all we would profit. That's if we were to sell it today, if we liquidated everything.
yeah, but if we left it over there in the other way, we'd have had.
I mean, the bank account,
Yeah,
if we leave it in the bank account,
we'd have had 508.
No.
Right, the 508
No.
is the interest income from the bank.
No, what you're, no, that's not, no, what you're, okay, that's the interest, that's something different. So you're conflating two different things. You're talking about the investments and you're talking about the interest income from the bank.
Right.
That number would actually go up because that would be cash. So we kept most of our money in cash. If you actually look at the treasury report, it shows that we have more cash on hand than we do investments.
Yeah.
We have made that change back in 2021. We're almost, if you look at the yellow on the actual treasury report, it's well over that orange line, which shows we have way more cash on hand than we do investments. What you're referring to again is a paper law.
I understand it's a paper law.
So even if we keep the money in there hypothetically,
Yeah,
right?
hypothetical.
Oh, no, hypothetically. If you go look back over here for fiscal year 2022, it was $6,000. We had one bank account that had $19 million in it that had less money that we made in interest than we did on an account that had less than $250,000 in it. So essentially you wouldn't be making anything. You would only be making it now because interest rates are up.
Yeah,
Which is why now what we're doing is we're buying higher interest bonds.
Yeah.
So when interest rates go down, instead of you getting the $6,000 that you see in fiscal year 2022, we're gonna still get $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, but I'll just keep eye on that. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
I mean, just to let you know also for this year, again, as I reported in the treasury report, we made $1.4 million collectively between our investments and our actual bank accounts.
Yeah, maybe so, but I'm just going by the numbers I'm looking at right
That's
here.
fine. Those are paper.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, I
not
understand it's paper.
actual. And
But-
right now, we're looking at 207,000 if you look at our actual investments.
Yeah.
If you go back to the treasury report on page 11.
Yeah.
On the investment totals, we have 17.9 is the total market value of the assets that we hold. 18.23 is what we purchased, the acquisition price. That would be 1.482%, which is lower, which is 270.3, I wrote it down, $384,000. That's how much we would be down. As I stated before, that number would be higher if we did not make any changes back in FY 2022.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Quick question. As far as parliament procedure, I know we've got a lot to cover tonight, and this is the first meeting, budget meeting that I've done. Is there any way we can do like a portion now and a portion next council meeting? Or I don't know if the time frames, like I'm really asking, or do we all do it in one meeting all at one night?
well, you asked your question, I'm gonna ask mine, we just keep going, we're going.
Okay, all right.
Thank
No,
you.
I was just
We
asking.
got time.
Okay.
It's just, yeah. It's been at 12 o'clock before.
Oh, you're right. I know.
Yeah.
Now, now, I will say this, okay, since we putting stuff on the floor, right? I speak to Mr. Gregg, Mr. Jackson. Again, I spoke to Mr. Jackson a couple months ago. I asked to receive the budget. At that time, I realized that there are some faster ways to make the budget go faster. One of the ways is actually having the department heads come up like I did with the clerk and like I did with Vance and ask them, hey, what do you guys need? What do you guys want? And we kind of do it together as a group, and then we kind of vote on it as a group. The way it's kind of presented now is we have the finance department and the group of people talking about it. I'm not saying they're not supposed to talk about it, and then they present it to us.
Alderman, I had a meeting with every single department head, just FYI.
Say that
We've been working on this budget since October. We've had meetings with every single department. So everything that's in the budget, this has already been discussed,
Okay, when did
with the
you,
exception of the clerk and
okay. You did a budget with the exception of the clerk? and treasurer?
I didn't have a meeting with the clerk or the treasurer. But the department heads I did.
Okay, so you didn't have, you did the budget without speaking to the elected officials?
I didn't have a meeting with them.
Oh, okay, did you have a meeting with me?
We exchanged emails, we exchanged documents, we had conversations. The clerk had mentioned that she was gonna have a software need down the line. She had to get us the information on it. We sat down, these budgets are much more in control, much smaller than all the other budgets, as you commented on, Alderman. We took, my staff is so tired of sitting in an office with me talking about numbers. It's crazy. We tore numbers apart. We put things back in. We took things out. You know, we talked about water. We talked about streets. We talked about drones. So the meetings, I've been in this position a little over 6 months, and 3.5 months of it were sitting in meetings
Right.
about budgets. So we met with everybody, Alderman. I want to assure you of that. We did.
Okay. Okay, she just said you didn't meet with two people. You met with
Okay.
me?
No, I'm talking about our department heads.
Okay, I get that. That's the
Okay.
executive branch. That's your department again. What I'm talking about is everybody outside of your group, like the treasurer, the clerk, the alderman, to speak with us about automatic spending. We know your group is got it together, but I'm talking about everybody else outside on the budget.
Did you want to schedule a meeting?
Schedule a meeting tonight.
Yeah, we
Yep.
can schedule it.
Schedule a meeting what day can you meet with them?
My understanding is by this process, and I was new to this process, every municipality I've served or the county that I've served, they've done budget processes differently. Sometimes they do it in finance committees of the whole, sometimes they do it in individual committees, sometimes it's just chairs. My understanding coming into this budget process this is the method we've used in the past. This is the method that's been successful. And this was the method that was thought to be best used to move forward. I deferred to the comptroller and other staff on that process.
Okay.
So it's not, it wasn't by a lack of desire to talk to anybody, Alderman. It sure wasn't.
Let me clarify myself. You did a great job on the budget, and your system did a great job on the budget. But as the kids say, facts. We're gonna be here till 12 o'clock tonight, right? That's facts, right? So all I was asking was, can we come up with a more efficient way to maybe have it in budget sessions? So we don't, or start earlier on the budget so that every time we go over the budget, we're not here until 12 o'clock? I mean,
What I promise you, Alderman, is that when this budget session's done, this process for this fiscal year, we'll go over and look at potential other methods for delivering the budget out.
okay, and because everybody's gonna get tired and frustrated and start arguing and grumpy at everybody, right? And that's what we don't want to go with that, all right? So go ahead and continue.
I'm tired of you.
17 pages. It's not the full. This
Yeah.
presentation up here is 17 pages. It's not the actual.
Yeah, it's the highlights. And you have the actual budget in your possession.
Yeah, right.
And so that's why I said I was going through the overview, and then if you wanted to go deeper into it, then we can talk more into it. If not, I mean, it's up to you. I can go through.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Finish.
I sat here before.
And then you're okay with you said you're okay with it now. Okay. Did anyone want to talk about any other expenditures in the general fund?
Keep moving.
Keep moving. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the next one is for water. So as you can see here for water, we have revenue expected. So we're projected at the fiscal year end for revenue to be for 2024 is $10.1 million. Expenditures is projected at 10.7 million. If you look on the for fiscal year 2025, there's a jump there of $6 million for a projected revenue. And that the biggest thing is because we have our IUPA loan that we're going to receive for 16th and Kimball. So that money is expected to come in fiscal year 2025. So that's why there's a big jump there. And then the same thing with the expenditures. They're expected to be some big expenditures for that fiscal year for water. And that's the reason why, if you wanted me to go into detail, I can give you a couple of the things that we're going to be doing in the water department as well.
Forward it back.
So this is water, Public Works would have been in general, the street department would have been in the general fund. If you like, we can go back and talk.
No,
about
no,
that.
no.
Okay.
Nope, nope. nope,
Okay, so water is gonna be towards the end, it's actually page 89.
nope. Okay.
Water department.
Yes,
Yeah,
the water
water
department, yes. All righty. I just want to highlight some of the projects that we're gonna be
Okay.
working on and that. So the biggest jump is the 1.5, I'm sorry, $5.5 million for the roof. If
Yeah.
you remember, we just passed that in
Mhm.
order. So that, that's probably the biggest jump that you're gonna see, that $5.5 million to repair the roof at the water plant. Some other things that's going in there, we're still working on our lead service and water line replacements, as well as the water intake structure.
Mhm.
And then keep in mind that this is all coming out of water, expenditures. This is not coming from the general fund,
Okay.
okay? Any questions about water?
No.
No, but I did, yeah, I do have a question. We got a brand new beach down there and that wall down there, is horrible. And I know we're doing painting on that wall. Are we painting that wall?
Which wall? You're talking about for Foss Park?
Yeah, for Falls Park.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
when you
that's in the
talk
capital
about-
fund.
Is that in the 5 million?
No, that's for the roof.
That's just for the roof, that's
Yeah.
not for the side.
You're talking about the side of the water plant?
Yes, it's got like, it looks like our city hall where it's got it runs where the water runs off. And
Mhm.
it's got those water stains. So you're looking at the beach this way and then you turn around and look at our water plant and you see like.
I'm not for sure if it's doing the exterior. Steve, would you know
I
that?
know I know something about duck pointing, tuck pointing we were doing.
The current phase of the roofing project, we're just doing some of the tuck pointing down at the water plant. The area that you're referring to is more like the stucco that's on the outside of the
Yeah.
big underground concrete tanks.
Yeah,
That's gonna be taken care of in the next phase,
okay.
which will be in like a year or two whenever we have funding to do
The
it.
following budget, okay.
Mhm.
I thought of maybe, I know Mr. Martindale left, but maybe having the kids putting a memorial on that wall at the beach, you know, hey. Mural.
All right, go ahead, Twan. Need some more?
No, thank you. Okay, so the next fund we're gonna come to is an overview is the general grant fund. So this is where we receive our funding, all our grants go into this fund. If you look there on our expenditures, what we're expecting to spend out and what we are expecting to receive in. Some of the ones that's highlighted, this is where the Sheridan Crossing cleanup is. The $6 million is there. So that's the biggest expenditure in that fund. And then we do have also so we're expected to receive a $2 million grant from DECO and then a $4 million grant from the federal side to be able to cover those costs. And then, so those are the biggest expenditures that's in the grant fund. And then the next fund is the motor fuel fund. If you go just back up, just on that same page you were on, yeah. It's 3 funds on there. So the motor fuel fund, same thing, what's expected for us to receive in, what expenditures are expected to expend, and then what's gonna be left over at the end of the fiscal year. Does anyone have any questions about motor fuel? Okay. Same thing with the community development block grant fund. That's the funds that we use right now, currently are utilizing it for the lead sewer lining. We got a grant in for that, and then we're basically working on that program. So that's what that money is coming in for. Okay, no questions on that one? Okay, perfect. The next one that's, is fun, number 22, which is the federal forfeiture fund. So that really has to do with the police department. That particular money, it's, only certain items we can spend money on for. Currently, what's coming out of the budget for the first one is, we're gonna pay the rent for the substation that's over on 10th Street, so that's what's coming out of this fund. And then we were gonna have for some equipment that the police department is gonna utilize. So that's what's in that fund. And then the same thing for the next fund, which is another, the state seizure fund is also for the police department. Again, those funds can only be utilized for particular reasons, and there's projected for us to receive, they're gonna buy some other things out of this department as well. Out of this fund, $35,000 is gonna be spent from there. Okay, this is our TIF districts. We currently do not have any activity at this point. Downtown TIF was the TIF that closed in February of 2023. We do have still a little bit of funds there, so that's why there is a small amount of interest. Other than that, there won't be any activity in that fund. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead. Is there a reason why there won't be no activity in that fund?
It closed. That TIF closed.
Just, oh, so it's just-
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, but it got numbers on here though.
Right, so there was a beginning fund balance. We expect to receive interest. You see where it says expenditures, it says zero. There's nothing there. It's 184, 165 is where we're expecting to end that. Okay?
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, they're numbers, but that's the balances that we had at the end of the fiscal year. So there's no activity, and for that one or the next one that we call for Sheridan Crossing currently. Now, Sheridan Crossing now is getting some movement where there might possibly be something that comes up, but right now it's not anything that's projected to be spent for this fiscal year. And then our Skokie Highway TIF, that's one of our TIF that is most active right now. So that's if we are expected to receive property tax and a property tax increment in there. And then we would have some expenditures for, we have a agreement with MCO or BRIMS to pay them a certain amount of money that's come off their increment. And so that's there. And then other professional services would be for anything that we have to do for legal, engineering, and things like that. Any questions on that one? Nope, okay. Okay, the next one is, should be Grant Place. And again, Grant Place, the money there is just what was been left over from the fiscal year. There's no activity in the Grant Place operating or the Grant Place, capital fund. There won't be any activity. Okay, the next one is the debt services. Go ahead.
You gotta add all this up.
Mhm.
This- And I know you keep saying no activity, but it's showing, well, we got it showing on this, paper.
So if you look in the lines, one line say revenue is zero, one line say expenditures say zero, that's just the balance that we have remaining from the prior fiscal year from 2023. So there won't be any activity in fiscal year 2025.
You be showing Grant Place next year. You shouldn't be showing.
We don't, no. So we have to officially close that fund out. It has not been officially closed. So it is still part of our budget until we remove it. And that's something that we'll have to come back to council for us to close it. Yeah. So even though we don't have any activity in it, we still have to have it listed. Go ahead, I'm sorry. I would have to, $3,381. It should be an offset of one another. Not for sure why it was $3,000 under. I can look and see, because I know we received the full money in, just probably just the way it was allocated. But before we close it out, of course, it would be at zero. Okay, the next one is the debt service. About that. First deck service, again, Alderman, there is no activity for the one that say 2007A. You see $428 there? Okay, so that's if you see where it says beginning fund balance, just that balance has been carried over. So there is no activity, there was no activity in 24, and there will not be any activity in 25 for that grant. For that debt, I'm sorry, it's already been paid off. The next one, which is the grant place debt, which is 2007C. There will be activity there. That's where we have our debt service payment that will need to be paid for this upcoming fiscal year. That's where that $967,285 is. And then again, we're gonna receive, we're gonna receive property tax on that.
Right.
So we had to levy for it. Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Is it just gonna sit there or?
No, when we close it out, it'd be zeroed out.
so
It'll be
we get-
zeroed out into the general fund.
General fund.
Yes.
Thank you.
I just wanna make sure what we're doing.
All right.
Okay, any questions on Grant Place, the Grant Place debt, 2007C?
No.
No? Okay. Okay, the next one that we have, same thing, is 2014A debt service. That, again, there's no activity for fiscal year 2024 or 25 for that. There is a leftover currently showing listed. And again, this is the downtown TIF debt, so just keep that in mind that that debt originally ended February of 2023. And so what we're trying to do, there's access there. There's gonna be probably some expenditures that we're gonna move from another fiscal year that qualified as 6 expenses, so the city would get reimbursed for it. So that when you see that number there, that's not gonna stay there. That's gonna be moved over and to repay the general fund. Okay, same thing for 2007B, that debt also is paid off. So again, that fund that you see, there won't be any activity for 2025.
I know this is a preliminary.
Yes.
I know this is a preliminary,
Mhm.
budget that we're doing. But all these things that you're saying is paid off and
They
they're
are.
already down to zero and stuff.
Mhm.
When you give us the new budget, will all this be off that?
No, that would still appear. Remember, I told you we have to officially close it before we can remove it from the budget. So no, it would still appear.
Okay.
And when do we plan to close these?
We have to, for the debt service, we have to legally file with the county. I believe Taylor's working right now currently to get it officially closed. We're working with Phil McKenna to work through the process to get it officially closed, should I say.
Okay.
Okay?
How long do you anticipate that to be?
It won't be a long process. There's certain steps that we have to take. Again, it expired, no, I don't believe it's gonna be 6 months, no. It would be less than 6 months.
No, I mean, that.
We have to still sign we still have to bring the contract for it to be signed with Phil McKenna, for him to do the work. I don't know what that cost is at this point. But once that, we just need him to give us the dollars and for us to file it. I would think it would be no more than 2 to 3 months. You're welcome. And then, the Vision Fund. So the city is self-assured for vision, so we put a certain amount that we pay for each employee to be able to have vision services. So that is just the expenditures that we're gonna spend, and the revenue coming in is just the city portion. Okay? And then the retiree fund, same thing, the retirees, they fund their ability to be able to be into our medical plans, and that's where their payments go. And then that's the expenditures that we pay out for their Blue Cross Blue Shield, dental, everything that they have with us. Any questions on that one? No? Okay, and then the last one is just the library fund. So with the library, of course, you know that they have their own bank account. We basically formality, just put theirs in with ours. Their council is the one that already approved their budget, but this is the numbers that they gave us for this fiscal year 2025.
Okay. Go ahead, Alderman January.
I just have, a quick question and probably for the police department.
Mhm.
So I'm sure, Assistant Chief Lund can help us. I'm looking at, there's an increase in the overtime for this next upcoming year. What are we doing about that and getting that down?
The increase, right?
Let me go to that. Sorry about that. The next budget.
They can work out overtime when they were shorthanded. But go ahead, that's the cheapest.
So it was budgeted 850. It's staying the same. Are you speaking of for the police officers overtime or what overtime?
Yeah, the overtime. There's overtime 1.5x, overtime straight, overtime 2.0x, and then overtime sworn police.
Okay, so.
And that's more than our previous, this year is projected for the end of the year.
So
But again,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
it's the same thing,
Mhm.
year after year. What are we doing to eliminate the overtime? Bring it down. It's too high.
Right now, it's a tyrant. Like I said, we have 4 that are coming out, 3 that are, lateral transfers. Additional 3 to 4, I believe, are through poly-psych and medical now with 1 additional lateral. Those will dramatically help reduce our overtime. We have, like I said, 7 in the FTO program now, all going well. They'll be out of the FTO training, I believe, in the next 5 weeks. So substantially lower the overtime.
Okay, great to hear. I'm just concerned about the overtime because, not that I see it as much now, but I do still see it occasionally, where we have a number of police officers that are sitting, doing nothing for hours, chatting with each other, over at the restaurant at full moon for, like a good hour. I mean, I know they get their breaks, but,
Yes, ma'am.
again, it just seems excessive. And when I show up, they like run away like cockroaches. It's like the light was shining on them. So that tells me that they were there too long.
Yes, ma'am.
So again, we need to do something about the overtime when we have police officers that are sitting and doing nothing idly. They should be traveling the city constantly
Yes, ma'am.
and watching. This is why our crime is so high. And what's happening is this overtime needs to be either pre-approved or something has to happen. So that they're not thinking, oh, well, I'll just sit here and talk for a couple hours and then I'll go do my job. Oops, I found something. So now I gotta sit and write a report that's gonna put me into overtime. And I've had a number of officers brag about new cars that they bought off of North Chicago.
Yes, ma'am.
So I hear all kinds of stuff out there in the community. So that's why I've always been focused on the overtime. And I
Understood.
know you haven't been here before, but that's my experience with this.
Understood, ma'am. But the majority of the overtime, from what I'm aware, is the staffing, so it's not enough manpower to meet the minimal standards. So we have virtual calendar, which shows all of the overtime, and unfortunately, it's been excessive. We were down, I think, 14 officers when I got here initially, so it's just been literally trying to fill as many holes as possible. Our command staff is unfortunately pretty much non-existent right now. We're down 2 lieutenants, several sergeants, so we're doing our best to keep up right now. So we do the best we can, and like I said, with all the new staffing that we have coming on board, it would dramatically reduce the amount of overtime.
Okay, and how's retention going, real quick?
Overall, pretty well. Unfortunately, we are surrounded by some of the richest communities in the state of Illinois. The Gurneys, the Lake Bluffs, the Lake Forest, the Glenviews. We actually are holding our own. We are an exciting place to work. We're a fun place to work. There's a lot of opportunities for especially younger officers, promotional opportunities, lateral mobility. So we understand, and one of our biggest keys is trying to hire from within the city of North Chicago, creating the pathway to police through the CLC program and things of that nature. We believe, like I said, in this last batch, we have several candidates that are from North Chicago. The last recruitment class, we have at least one that's from North Chicago, so we've been very lucky in that regard.
Awesome, awesome to hear. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any more questions? All right, Mayor? What I do? No, just put, everybody got more questions on? Budget. Budget, okay, put it on that for, put it on down council. And discuss any other question, vote up and vote it down. Mr. Fisher.
So let me
Should I
ask
say
you a question.
something?
If we have any questions, then we just send them to the comptroller.
Please.
Do we need to send them to chief of staff?
Just send it to both of us all.
Okay, so you do both, okay, that makes it clean.
It makes it
Yeah.
clean.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. What a great job.
Okay.
Mayor, your staff.
Yes, thank you to
Thank you.
Okay. What you say?
I read them highlights.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this, but I need the highlights.
Could I get a motion to close the finance?
second.
Okay, move on. Jackson, second by in January.
Yeah.
All right, roll call.
Yes, J and J.
Let's see. Alderman Jackson.
Aye.
Alderman Coleman. Alderman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderman January.
The whole, we don't have that because, the candidate said he was not able to attend. Oh, okay. And I hope everybody heard that because I didn't turn my mic on.
What'd you say?
No committee of the whole.
I said green. I ain't gonna go along with that.